Yo. It's Grapsody with Will, Phil, and Reg, trying to keep it real instead of what you usually get from these talking heads. It's Grapsody, we're here to fill the void. 3 black fans, different perspective, got to fill your voice. Coming with the podcast, talking majors, indies in between. Yeah, it's all that, and we're down with Fightful, better fall back. Coming for respect, we connect like a ball bat. No need to double check, these are all facts. You're listening to us talk raps. You're listening to us talk raps. Will, Phil, and Reg. Yeah, we're Grapsody, here to talk raps. Yeah, we're Grapsody, here to talk raps.
It's Saturday. It is February 11th, 2023. And this is Grapsody here on Fightful. And I'm Will Washington. I am one member of this trio. Because we've also got Philip Lindsay here.
I am here. It's weird on February 11th to be in the midst of the end of an era. King Switch is officially leaving Japan.
That's weird.
Still surreal to me. But here we are.
Also here we've got Righteous Reg.
Oh, yes. In the building, it's your boy, Media Man, your favorite rapper, your favorite writer, your favorite podcaster. It's been a very weird week of wrestling finishes. Got a lot to get into. I might be yelling at some point in this show because the Gun Club are the fucking backbones.
Do-do-do-do.
Oh, my bad.
That's the only redeeming thing they got for them.
Yeah, that theme is fire. I'm sorry.
That thing go off though.
I think some things are going to go down. But while you're here, folks, leave us a thumbs up. And send us your super chats or your humper chats. Super chats, you can find us at youtube.com/Fightful. And if you're right there on the channel, send us a super chat. Send us your messages. We'll read them right here on the show. And the donations of super chats help support the channel, help support what we do, help keep this thing going. Humper chats as well is a great way to support. With the humper chats, we get a larger cut of those. So that actually helps support the show a little bit more. And you can send humper chats at any time. And I said all that to say that these humper chats, folks really took advantage of that statement because we got a whole bunch of humper chats going back hours. So shout out to everybody who sent these in the wee hours of the morning because this one here had to have come in at, when was this one? 4 hours ago. This one's from Wonga. It says, "Good day, Grapsody fellas. No spoilers, but New Japan last night was a really good show. The ESPN AEW news for Down This Way is great. Obviously, as you can see by the A, he's in Australia. Yep. And he says, got a bunch of mates who are keen to watch now that they have access, but I'm keeping fight since I don't have to watch that pick and pick trash."
Well, I mean, I kind of just spoiled the ending of the loser leaves Japan match, but it was a really good show. I can officially say that New Japan is back. Getting actual like noise in the crowds other than clapping. We are back.
And yeah, I mean, like AEW is continuing to announce deals, and they're attempting to make deals. Shout out to Mookie on making those deals happen, but you know they're kind of basically across the world trying to get more and more deals because the whole idea with Fight was that, you know, obviously Fight's available worldwide. And so, you know, the push was that, you know, they've got a TV deal here in the States. They've got a TV deal in Canada and whatnot. They've got a TV deal in the UK, but not as far as live is concerned. And so the goal has been to use Fight to kind of supplement that for now, but as time goes on, they're going to try and hit as many places as they can. And yeah, they got the ESPN deal happening in the Pacific Islands in the UK, or not UK, in Australia and New Zealand. And so that's a big deal for them. And to suddenly have that branding, I mean, like if I were to I'd start introducing titles for all of these TV networks. All of a sudden now we got the ESPN Championship.
Straight up. More championships.
But only
hopefully the HBO Max Championship eventually, maybe. I don't know.
Because they just launched a deal with DAZN as well, Germany. So like they've got these deals happening, and it's really good for them. So obviously they want to keep spreading the brand because the more places the show is available, that's more touring options that they can hit because obviously the show is more exposed to people. So I'm glad you guys have access to it. But also, they did say that people get to keep their fight for now anyway. I don't know how long it's going to stick around, but for now, people are going to get to keep their Fight TV Plus. And I make that statement about how long it's going to stick around because we in the U.S. don't have Fight TV Plus without, obviously you can do it with a VPN, but otherwise that's not really a thing you can do here because the TV deals with TNT and TBS restrict. It is, they have exclusive rights to those shows here, and with good reason. They're paying great money for it, so they probably should. And, according to Tony, he feels that they're going to be paying even more with the next TV rights deal. Black Phoenix brand says, Happy Grapsody. I like that. Still reeling from the bombshell Will dropped on me last week. The WCW US title looks so similar to the Intercontinental title. He says, been seeing those belts for 30 years and never noticed the similarities until that very moment.
How?
I mean, literally, they paid for the exact same design from Dave Millican and added the eagle. It's the same belt.
If you're not really a belt mark, you don't really look at details of the belt. Like
ECW used that belt design too.
I don't really know the specific details of any belts. Like I know what they look like, but if you're zooming in on them, I don't know what they look like in there.
Mm-hmm.
This is a fact I didn't know that you guys are saying right now, right? Actually, my mind is being blown. I've seen both of those titles at minimum 1 million times each. So this is crazy.
Yeah, but I like that belt more than I like. I like it more than I like the Intercontinental title, to be honest. And as far as physical belts are concerned, although historically, granted, the last year has been a little bit different, but historically, even WWE. I think WWE has done a better job since they've had both the U.S. and Intercontinental titles with the U.S. title than they have Intercontinental. I always think about the fact that they went a solid 10 straight years without defending the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. Obviously this year is going to be a little bit different, but they went quite a long time without that belt being showcased at Mania at all.
Yeah. When did that change? Probably the opener with Balor versus Miz versus Rollins. That was probably one of the better Intercontinental title matches of the last
for sure.
decade.
But the U.S. title they've been fine with, right? Because U.S. title was we have Cena who's got to win it from Big Show. We had and Cena also got to win it from Rusev. Essentially, Cena was the key to making sure the U.S. title stayed afloat. Whereas the Intercontinental title, Vince was take it or leave it. Now I feel obviously they've done a lot better with the Intercontinental title via Gunther.
So with that said, do you think that Austin Theory will remain your United States champion and the program with Cena that looks like they're building will be for the U.S. title?
Sounds like they're setting up for another Cena U.S. title win at WrestleMania.
Well, so that's the interesting thing. I think that's where the chamber comes in handy because I think Austin Theory, obviously he's facing Cena at Mania, but on the one end, you have a better story to tell if it is with the U.S. title on the line simply because, Cena has so much history with that belt, WrestleMania specifically, and, he did the open challenges, all that stuff. But also, there's zero chance Cena's winning that. And so I think that you run into an issue. Sean Ross Sapp had the idea of have Cena win night 1 and then do an open challenge night 2 and and have Jay White win it night 2. And then and then all of a sudden Cena still had a moment with the US title, but because he's John Cena wanted to do the open challenge.
And then the United States of J shit, sounds not too bad. Sounds not too bad.
So that was Sean's idea. That one's not too bad. I think it'll probably keep the U.S. title involved just because, part of the reason this feud is going on is because Austin Theory's walking around going, the champ is here, all of that stuff. It doesn't really work without Cena. So I think it keeps the belt.
Like, how does Cena want to challenge this guy who just lost in the Elimination Chamber if he loses? You know what I mean? That doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think the whole reason for this is to kind of give Theory his moment after last year's Elimination Chamber, getting F5'd off the top of the pod, and it's like, well, now he gets to turn around and win the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think Theory's winning.
Yeah, so we'll see. It's a week from now. Like, Royal Rumble feels like yesterday, but literally a week from today is kind of a big day in general because all of a sudden we got NBA All-Star Weekend, we've got Battle in the Valley, and we've got Elimination Chamber all that weekend.
Same day.
Big weekend. I watched a little bit of SmackDown last night, pretty much the end. Do you think they're gonna have Jay go without Jimmy because they set up the thing where Paul Heyman was like, "Oh, Jimmy, we want you to watch it from TV or whatever." You think they're setting up the swerve where it's just Jay because Jimmy can't?
Yeah, I think the whole idea was that Jimmy can't go to Canada. Yeah, Jay can though. So I think that's
because I'm like, how do you finish the story without the Usos? But
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, it still remains interesting. I didn't see any of SmackDown last night, so I am not quite all up to speed on all of that.
I started watching at the Madcap Moss win, and I was like, "This is the worst wrestling show I've ever seen."
So you guys missed all of the stuff from the beginning of the show, like the Paul Heyman promo and the Sammy stuff, and
I saw the Heyman promo. I saw the Heyman promo, and then I had to leave, take my kids skating, and make dad jokes because they were playing Every Little Step by Bobby Brown. And I was like, you can't take steps and skates. You take strides. But
you take strides. You got to go. Get them out of here.
Nah, my daughter was throwing the tomatoes right at me.
Did you skate?
She was. She was like, Dad, nah, stop.
Did you strap up?
I mean, kind of. Like...
I was about to say, he got kids. You know he didn't strap up. What do you mean?
He's like, no, that's the reason I'm at this damn skating rink.
Well, the funny thing was, I get there, and of course, as I posted, it's all Valentine's Day stuff.
Right.
And so I took my son the day before he had his school Valentine's dance, and it was the family Valentine's dance, so you could bring somebody, and he brought my wife and I, and so we went. I'll tell you this: 2 days in a row had to do the Cupid Shuffle, and I just
down, do your dance, do your dance, do your dance.
Yeah,
I do that dance in Vegas. Like, I don't know why. Any place I show up in Vegas, they're playing that song for some reason, and like, why are we keep it shuffling right now in the middle of Vegas at 1 a.m.? I don't know. That's how it works sometimes.
I just thought it was funny because of the fact that it's a lot harder in skates than it is.
I think so.
Yeah. Like at the kids dance, that was one thing, but like in skates,
they have a DJ there.
And so, but of course, I can't think of a black function I've been to in the and granted, the skating rink, it's mostly black folks just because of where I live. But I can't think of a black function I've been to in the last 20 years that didn't have the Cupid Shuffle playing at some point. Except these TikTok kids have decided to change it up, and
need it. Every remix just makes me so angry.
Speaking of things that most black people know, I damn near cried laughing at that guy front row of Dynamite with one of the most popular clocks from a black household, the gold watch clock over his shoulder. And I died laughing. I happened to be talking to a black wrestler at the time, and they were like, "Yo, almost every black person knows somebody that either has that in their house or owned it at one point." And so
I love it. Like, how did that guy find that? That's crazy.
With the gold watch clock over his shoulder.
Kind of wish that guy was a Grapsody
iconic.
He was in the comments right now.
That was great.
Guy,
I mean, that's a title though. Like honestly, that.
Like I don't like when people are carrying belts at the shows. I'm like usually, but when I saw that shit, I was like, okay,
that should be like now the official African American title.
It's replacing the North American Championship at NXT.
Oh.
No
So
That's the Black Championship. That's the one with
I
the
did
goofy on
watch Vengeance Day, by the way, and
it. Oh, I watched that too.
yeah. What did you think? Because like
I didn't
as
watch
somebody who's not in enough on NXT, I talked about this on After the Week last week that I haven't seen enough Grayson Waller to really have an opinion on Grayson Waller. But, obviously, we've seen Rob in the chat. He always gives the Waller is baller. And he's always big on Grayson Waller being the next big thing. And then I've heard from people that he's like carbon copy Miz. I hadn't seen enough of Grayson Waller to truly know what he brings to the table. But I did not like that main event at all.
Oh, the main event was boring.
Yeah, and I thought both guys looked like they didn't belong on that stage, and I thought, but then the hard part for me, and this was painful to admit, I also didn't like Apollo versus Carmelo. I thought that was going to be better, and I wasn't a fan. I think the best match of the night was Dijak and Wesley. That match was that they killed it out there. They opened the show, and like that started the show off so hot. I was like, okay, NXT, like that felt like a black.
I came off the show thinking that the future is fucking grim in WWE. If like this is what we're gonna be seeing in 5 years at WrestleMania, shut it down.
Well, I mean, there's good news coming out of NXT. I didn't watch Vengeance Day, but just the fact that now they've got
everybody who's hot is the ones that are not from their system. Like Roxy's hot.
Roxy's hot, but
Melo's hot from somebody else's system. The ones that are from their system, boring as fuck. Braun Breaker, they gotta dye this guy's hair blonde immediately. Give him the net. Like, come on, man. Like, do what you need to do because this shit right here is boring.
So, but the good things that I've heard is the people that are coming over from UK finally, like, we're finally getting Tyler Bate in a big way. It sounds like Mako Satomura is coming over.
The NXT show after the Vengeance Day, they set up a lot of stuff for the future.
That gives me some hope, but no, I didn't watch Vengeance Day. I didn't watch the episode afterwards. I don't know. I've made it no secret that I don't enjoy NXT, so I just don't watch it.
It's awful, man. It's so bad. So bad.
I don't know. Toxic Attraction is no more. I guess that's the other big story to come out of this.
Yeah, that was a big story. And I thought it was, I laughed at that because of the fact that when I was talking about Vengeance Day on After the Week last week, I was like, you know what, though? I kind of dig Toxic Attraction without Mandy, I think. Like, they've got something here. And if they call them up to the main roster as this duo, I actually think that they're showing a lot more promise as just a duo. And then
famous last words?
Famous last words, apparently. I was not expecting
We got to talk about Baldhead HBK and how all of his hottest angles are just his hottest ankles.
Oh, wait. Speaking of HBK, by the way, I have to. So I was watching an old Raw because I wanted to watch one of my favorite pops of all time. It was the Raw from June 21st, 2004. Random as hell, I know. But that Raw took place from Miami, Florida. And the reason I talk about one of my favorite pops is because that show opened up with a surprise Rock appearance. And basically, Raw intro opens. They do the pyro. JR is doing the intro, and then gets quiet. Then if you smell, and the crowd fucking loses it, and they're like, "We're in Miami, but we did not know that the Rock was gonna be here." And everybody's going nuts. But I was thinking about that show, right? Again, fueling the HBK conspiracy theories from weeks ago we talked about of Rock avoiding HBK.
Chad Frost.
The week before on Raw, Shawn Michaels was taken out by Kane, and the opening of that Raw was that the opening of that Raw starts with Shawn Michaels will not be here tonight, and we'll have a medical update on Shawn here later tonight.
Rock said, "No, I want y'all to say it before I enter the screen. I want y'all to make sure everybody knows that motherfucker's not back here with me."
And then Rock's music hit. Like, it's almost immediately after JR's like, we'll have a medical update on Shawn later tonight. if you smell, and like my brain went, oh my god,
It's real, man. It's real.
Rock was really like, look, I will be at Raw next week, but you better write Shawn Michaels out of this show.
Not be there.
You telling me Rock be calling them with the who all there?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. Who all there? Oh,
Is the
he
sexy
there?
boy
Nah, I ain't
back
coming.
there? Nah, I can't. I ain't gonna be there.
Like, I'm starting to see it in everything I watch now. I'm like,
Crazy.
damn.
The dots are connecting.
It was
for real.
right there in front of us this whole time. Didn't even think about it. But watch that Raw, June 21st, 2004. I swear to you, they open it up talking about Shawn Michaels being incapacitated and not able to be here tonight. And
we
then
missed
Rock comes out.
all of that time of The Rock. The Rock could have had a bunch of comeback matches essentially, but the whole time Shawn Michaels was there, so he was like, "I'm chill. I'm
I'm Gucci. I'm over here.
Nope.
I'm going to Grammys tonight.
yeah."
but like I said, Shawn Michaels loses WrestleMania 26. His career is over. WrestleMania 27, the host
It's
is
The
The Rock.
Amazing.
It is wild times. And did you guys watch the Grammys, by the way?
I did not.
Yeah, only thing I watched was the hip hop performance, which I thought was pretty dope. Super dope.
I mean, that was, somebody called it the Royal Rumble of
Yeah,
hip hop
seriously.
performances.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I don't know. I looked at it away because I'm like, yo, you can't do that and not have the first guy to win the best rap album at the Grammys not be there. Like to
They
do it without Will does
100%
not.
asked him about
make
it.
sense.
Yeah, he's,
Like-
he's doing a movie or something.
Yeah,
so
Will not being there were a couple that I thought because I saw like
Questlove and Black Thought are the ones that put it together, and so
Okay.
yeah, so Questlove put out a tweet that was like, he said he had 3 points. He was like, this guy couldn't make it. This guy said he wouldn't do it, and somebody else. So there was a couple of people that they asked, and
because
they
I
were
saw
just
that
like,
like
"Do that."
was I mistaken or did I see that like Hammer was there but like he didn't do the he wasn't included in, which like I know people have a thing with MC Hammer but like
But he should be in there.
but like historically he should be in there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Especially
and-
for what like the Grammys represent and like mainstream, like fucking Can't Touch This is one of the biggest rap songs of all time.
one of the biggest mainstream rappers ever.
Yeah. And so like when I liked the performance, and the reason I liked it was because I thought about with a lot of these acts, like seeing the Locks up there, and I was like,
That was dope.
at the Locks' time period of their, the biggest run that the Locks had, they would not have been at the Grammys at all. A lot of these acts would not have been at the Grammys. Public Enemies would not be at the Grammys.
They tried to ban Public Enemy. They didn't want him on TV at all.
Right. And so as I'm watching this, I thought this does feel transcendent watching all of these acts at the Grammys now, a celebration of hip hop in 50 years, and thinking about how 50 years ago you would not have put any of these acts on that stage.
I just love to think about there's like some 50-year-old white lady watching this, and she's like, "Why is the Equalizer rapping when Queen Latifah came out?" What's the Equalizer doing
What's funny though? I thought about that because of the fact that this was on CBS and they literally played a commercial for the Equalizer like 10 minutes before.
Why is the Equalizer rapping, man?
That's hilarious. Yo.
No, honestly, like my daughter and I were really big into award shows. Mainly her. Like I got into them because of her, because for whatever reason, they resonate
Trying
with
to
her.
get one of them.
But that too. But I think, like honestly, it's
Trying to get
this,
her EGOT.
It's this idea that all of the stuff I listened to throughout the year or watched throughout the year, I'm seeing a celebration of. So like we watch the Emmys, we watch, and like she has to know all the nominees beforehand, and then we sit down and we watch it. It is a thing. It's a thing she and I watch together. And I appreciate the fact that the Grammys obviously made a little bit of a transformation in the last few years where like the Grammys for a long time where, hey, here's a bunch of shit you never heard. And we're going to celebrate that because like mainstream success is not what drives the Grammys. And then somewhere along the way, in the last few years, they were like, well, nobody's watching the Grammys anymore. We got to start celebrating mainstream acts. And it shifted. But
like TikTok, we can't do this without
still
TikTok.
still got the album of the year wrong. I don't care what they say. Beyonce had album of the year. Y'all can get out of here with
They
that.
can't get it all the way.
I'll say this. I have not heard said Harry Styles album, so I can't comment one way or the other.
That answers your question why it is not album of the year. You heard that Beyonce everywhere. Like, come on, man. Like to make her the most nominated act this year, and like now she's got that landmark.
She's the
most Grammys.
Most Grammys. No, and to never have won album of the year, and to have like an excellent album coming into this year. Nah.
How many do her and Hove have to have like 60 at this point?
They did Hove bogus that year too, when he was the most nominated and didn't win any of the categories he was in, which Hove smashed that performance.
Oh, that Hove performance was dope too.
It was very good.
I think all of my enjoyment because again I didn't watch it. All of my enjoyment is watching Hove and all these clips that have appeared from backstage, him dapping it up with Rakim. He always shows respect to Rakim for whatever reason. That's like his idol, like. When you mentioned Flavor Flav, I immediately thought of his voice coming out of that room when he was talking to Missy, and he's like, "Yo, ho, Missy."
That was cool to see too, because a lot of the Public Enemy, Chuck D, and Flavor Flav have been beefing for a long time.
Yeah, so that was
publicly,
cool to see.
So that was dope to see them on the stage too.
Yeah,
I thought they got it right. There was, of course, like you're trying to get 50 years worth of people into 13 minutes. Like, of course, there's going to be some people that
I thought
there's no Tribe Called Quest. There's no, you know what I mean? So
the time jump though was a little bit to me.
It was crazy.
Yeah, where it was like, hey, we're going to go from like 2005 to today.
Now.
And I'm like, you missed a lot in there. That jump was. And the sound, the sound jump is huge too.
And I guess Kendrick probably didn't want to do it because he was there. He definitely has to be a part of that, you know.
Right. No, honestly, there it had its moments. I liked it. I walked away and I was like, I was happier with the Grammys than I have been in a lot of previous years. I thought Trevor Noah was a good host, and I thought like even the moments like with Adele and The Rock, like that was a little cute, endearing moment where Adele's never met Dwayne Johnson, and he's like, well, I don't have Dwayne Johnson, but I think I've heard of this guy named The Rock, and Rock walks in and. And everybody on Twitter gets mad because they're like, you can show up for the Grammys, but you can't even make a cameo at the Rumble.
Yes.
And I'm like,
yes.
I'm sorry. One is the biggest night in music and the other is the Royal Rumble. Like, I love the Royal Rumble, but I recognize that I am also into kind of niche thing. Although, I'll say this. This past week, I saw folks, and it actually looked pretty good. But I saw a couple of folks in Bloodline gear. They had Bloodline hats on, and they had shirts on that said "We the Ones." And I was like, this is the first time I've seen this like in public, not at a wrestling event, just out and about. And my first thought was, I mean, look, the Bloodline's a hit. It is definitely a hit, and I'm seeing it elsewhere. And then I thought, and the gear looks kind of dope. And so they are definitely kind of on to something.
Yeah, they are. No, look, their merch is dope. I've said that from the beginning. I think this is the first time, especially since Roman came back in 2020, where all of his merch is hidden. So, no, I think they're getting it right in all aspects with Bloodline right now.
Yeah. So we got some more Humper chats. I want to read these. Let's see. J-Wo Day says, Aja Kong left Oz Academy a couple of months ago. Now she's being advertised for Prestige during Mania weekend in LA. Without her Japanese obligations, any chance bookers will reach out to her for more USA dates, or do you think this is a one-off?
No, it's a two-off because she's also going to be at West Coast Pro on April 7th, home of the Killers. This is great for me. I don't know, but that's all I got from it is I get to see Aja Kong up close and personal, and maybe hopefully get an interview if I can finesse somebody, a couple of somebodies to get into that, because that would be amazing.
Didn't I just see Michael Oku is coming over to West Coast Pro?
Yeah, same show.
That match was dope too.
Same show. Yeah,
I just saw Michael Oku was also on Jericho's podcast, which makes me think that he will definitely be on the AEW show when they go to the UK.
I think he might be on there before at this point because he's going crazy. But they did confirm. Jericho said he's going to try to help him get onto the show, so that's super dope.
Yeah, that's dope. Michael Oku is very good if you haven't seen him wrestle.
We've got Black Phoenix Brand says, who do you think loses their title first, Bianca or Jade? And who do you think they will both end up losing to at this point? I know we've asked about Jade for a year, but the pickings are getting slim. I could book a case for it to be Saraya or Tony. I mean, I wouldn't have her lose it to a heel. I think at this stage, you've got to give a babyface that moment.
Yeah.
So
I mean, who loses it first? I don't think Jay's gonna lose it by WrestleMania, and
I don't think
I
so
am
either.
assuming that Asuka's winning at WrestleMania because I think she's gonna win Elimination Chamber.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna guess Bianca's gonna lose first.
I am going to go different direction from you guys. I am going to say Jade loses it first. I do think she loses it before WrestleMania. I could even see, now that she hit the 50 milestone, I think that was the one. I could see her losing it at Revolution, and depending on who they have lined up for.
Yeah, because Bianca might hold on to it until like SummerSlam. I think at this point, I don't
No,
know.
I think
if
Bianca will lose it at Mania. I think
Yeah.
I think they got to give Asuka her Mania win. And
they totally should.
Yeah. Just give her a moment like
I,
that.
I don't think it makes sense to reinvent Asuka and then have her build up to a WrestleMania match and lose.
That'd be dumb.
So, yeah.
Luckily,
I think-
Charlotte Flair already has a match.
Listen, I wanted that rematch with Charlotte.
Yeah.
Man. A part of me really wanted Asuka to beat her at WrestleMania.
Right.
Let's see. So Halabasana says, feels like the Elite are being intentionally diminished in AEW. 3 storylines teased and then seemingly dropped. House of Black, Takeshita, and Hangman. No feud for Revolution yet. And they were in the penultimate quarter hour, starting to get stressed.
I've been saying this a lot this week with people saying shit about the Elite.
That they don't have a major story right now. I thought that they would have launched one after the Top Flight and AR Fox match, and they didn't. So I am curious.
Revolution's coming up quick.
Yeah, it's
I don't think
weeks.
it's intentional though. I think some of it is that Kenny's been off TV, and I think that's why they haven't been able to build to anything yet. But now that Kenny's back, I think they should be able to.
Yeah, they should have some stuff moving, and I am curious as to why they, with only 3 weeks, literally it's 3 weeks from tomorrow. So we only got 3 Dynamites left. I mean, I know we're gonna find out who like Adam Cole's facing on Wednesday and all of that, but yeah, give us some stuff.
So do you guys think, because I've been hearing this a lot this week with ratings and shit and blah, blah, blah. Do you guys think that they should have Kenny Omega in the main event scene instead of being in this trios thing? Do you think Kenny Omega, saying he's being wasted is fucking ridiculous because the matches are amazing, but do you think he would be well suited? We got prime Kenny Omega. Like, should he be like in the main event scene?
No,
I think, well, so to take a point that somebody made, this point was made 18 years ago. Was it 18? Yes.
18 years. 18 years.
So there was a point where WWE was really, really obsessed with the youth, and they wanted to move forward with young guys where like it was like, okay, we got to push Randy Orton, we got to push John Cena, and these guys were all in their 20s at the time. And then kind of around that same time, Eddie Guerrero died. And then, of course, 2 years later, Chris Benoit died. And somebody had posted this. I remember the guy. And he posted it right after Chris Benoit died, but before we found out what Chris Benoit had done. And he had concerns over the fact that he's like, we're throwing away a lot of guys in their prime, not knowing that like they're not going to last forever. And because Chris Benoit was, 30-something at the time. Eddie Guerrero was 38. And his whole point was, we're throwing away guys in their prime to find the next stars, not realizing that, these guys aren't going to last forever. And I've thought about that point a lot. And I've thought about that point a lot because I'm thinking about how, obviously, AEW has to find the next young guy, right? And like they've made MJF into a top guy and all of that. But thinking about the fact that they've got Bryan Danielson doing the peak work right now.
Yeah.
They've got Kenny Omega, who again is back and again going to be doing peak prime work. And, there's so much discussion around, the next young star, the pillars, all of that stuff. But man, I don't think we should be wasting any time with the guys we do have, and
Exactly.
that is a concern I do have. I feel like I would like to see Kenny Omega and MJF lock it up. Like, there's so many reasons that make sense. MJF has a lot of claims, but MJF can even claim. Let me think about this. MJF has beaten Chris Jericho. MJF has beaten Jon Moxley. MJF has beaten Hangman Adam Page. MJF has beaten CM Punk. So of all the champions, MJF can claim he's beaten every single former AEW World Champion except for one, and that is Kenny Omega. Like, that's a match you can go with right now. That there's a lot of fire to, that could give MJF the best match of his career. I do think that there's benefit to doing stuff like that, and I would like to see that.
When you say wasting, though, I don't think they're wasting.
That sounds crazy. Yeah,
I don't think it's wasted as much as.
When you say wasting, though, because I feel like you have to build the Elite, and you have to build those trios titles.
We needed
some way.
this run for sure.
If you're gonna pick anybody to be the first trios champions and give those titles importance, I don't think it's a bad idea to make it those three guys who are founding members of the company and have a long history as a trio. Like, they're the guys that should start that division. So I don't think they're being wasted here. And we're also saying this after they just had an amazing match.
Amazing match, right?
So,
yeah,
I can't say that I feel like they're wasted. No.
No, the discussion is coming from the fact that the match kind of tanked in ratings. But I think that, there's a lot of confirmation bias in there because it was in the same time slot that traditionally tanks and Dynamite, which the women are typically in. And so, there's always been a question of, is it the time slot or is it what you've put in the time slot? And so
now it's the match. When it's the women, it's something like, people are so funny. Everything's just flipped.
I don't know. I didn't pay attention to any of that. I looked at the fact that we got an amazing
match.
Match. I thought that match was incredible. So I'm like, no, I think that if you're just using those three guys to do trio stuff again, you just had this match. You just had a great best of 7 series with these guys. So I don't think they're being wasted. I think Kenny is going to eventually be a singles wrestler again. And again, he just gave us one of the best matches
just gave it up.
of the year in a one-on-one match. So
he did.
It will be fine. I don't think they're wasting Kenny.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see. We got a couple more. Actually, we got a lot more. So thank you, everybody.
Appreciate y'all.
I really appreciate you. Let's see. We got D-Lo Diggs says, "Sup, fellas. Just want to say 2 things. Sammy and Jay yesterday, chef's kiss. And 2, that NBA trade deadline make me want some Henny and pitch black and a fucking square."
Stop, D-Lo, you gotta stop mixing this, man. You're worrying me you're making me worried about your health.
Let D-Lo get his shit off, Bill. Come on.
You gotta stop mixing this pitch black and Henny.
Yeah, because D-Lo not supposed to mix your Hennessy. It's supposed to be straight on some rocks. That's it, baby.
Maybe throw a splash of Coke in it.
Hennessy, no. Yeah, no, but the NBA trade deadline shit has been crazy this week. It's been an insane.
Why they do the West is suddenly like.
Is that why you wore that Denver's hat? It's slipping away. It's slipping away, man.
I know. Our conversation last week about this was very different. A lot has changed.
The top 4 teams in the West are going to be very, very different in a few weeks. I don't know. I don't know if I would say this means that Denver is cooked, but I don't know, man. Like, their chances are lowering. I don't think. I still think they're the best.
They lost some good players too. They lost Bones, right? Like,
Bones was traded to. Bones. There's been some kind of social media beef between Bones and Jamal Murray, Jamal Murray had a tweet that a bunch of people were quote tweeting. Jamal Murray's tweet was something
Phil
about
was right.
So Jamal Murray had tweeted something about, you can't talk about being a team player without putting in the work, something like that. And a bunch of people were quote tweeting it, kind of, dunking on Jamal Murray, and people noticed, hey, you notice everybody that is dunking on this tweet is somebody that Bones Highland follows. Like, is this like his family coming out? Like, there's obviously been some problems.
No
with
thumbs down that nigga in the group chat.
So that's exactly what.
Wow. Wow.
And so
I didn't notice that, but that's this era.
Yeah, so people were speculating. It's been speculated for a while that he was going to be traded. I thought we were going to get something this season for him, but it was all future picks. And so Bones Highland sent over to the Clippers. Thomas Bryant they picked up from the Lakers though, and he's he was averaging double figures this season, so that's a good pickup to have another backup center. So we'll see how.
I mean, the story of this, of course, is Kyrie being Kyrie, and when all of this stuff was happening, two things happened this week, and I kind of was like, that's a trade. First of all, watching LeBron break the record the other night. And
what a spectacle!
What a spectacle! Congratulations to LeBron. Honestly.
No, shout out to LeBron.
Congratulations to LeBron.
That's crazy. That's a lot of points, man.
And salute to the captain as well. That's a long-standing record to have, and I thought he handled the entire situation with grace. And I think everything he did that night and afterwards just shows why Kareem is Kareem, and he's one of the greatest basketball players and ambassadors for the sport ever. But sitting and watching it that night and watching just how cold the energy was around the Lakers. Like, even after Brian broke the record, like, there was nobody running out to hug him. Like, even if you looked at the bench, people were looking weird. They had that video of Davis giving him that little golf clap and then sitting back down. I'm like, yo, what is going on with this organization? And then Westbrook tried to win that game. They were losing this game, and Westbrook tried to win this game. And I was just looking afterwards like, I don't know, the only guy that tried to win that game, it doesn't seem like there's no kind of rah-rah around him. And I was talking on the phone that night, and I was like, yeah, Westbrook is gone. I knew that night. I said, Westbrook is out of here. And when that report came the next day that he got into it with Ham, I was like, yeah, he's gone.
Well, now there's talk that you might be seeing Westbrook up close and personal out there.
He ain't coming to Chicago. I'm not buying it. You're talking about the team that made absolutely no moves this week. And I didn't expect him to make any moves because that's what this organization does. If he comes here, I'll believe when I see it. I feel like the story coming out of this is, of course, other LA team cleared up all of this space at that guard position. I think your boy is about to walk next door and be a Los Angeles Clipper, and the rest of the year will be the Clippers and Russell Westbrook's revenge tour. That's going to be the storyline for the rest of the year. I really feel that way. But I don't know. Maybe he's going to Miami. I don't really buy that either. They got Kyle Lowry there. They don't really need him. I feel like he's going to be a Clipper within the next few days.
He's staying in LA.
But yeah, so the Kyrie stuff happened. And, of course, all of these Lakers fans acted like they were so upset that they didn't get Kyrie. And I'm like, listen, you didn't really want Kyrie.
No way.
and
way
then,
more trouble than good bringing Kyrie.
And so,
I think people just wanted the idea of LeBron and Kyrie playing together. Because
I think the idea sounds better than what we actually would have gotten. And crazy enough, I feel like the Lakers came out better without the Kyrie trade because I feel like they got more depth. They got a guy that can play and fit more in with what LeBron wants to do as a starter. Yeah. I think they're fine. I don't think they needed Kyrie. I don't think that this makes them contenders, but they're definitely better than they were.
Do they make the play-in is the question. I think they can make the
play-in. I don't know if I would say that this makes them like a top 5 team in the West or something like that.
Well, because who has to come out? I want to look at the standings real quick for them to make the play-in, and that's what I'm curious about.
It all depends on how soon Pelicans are going to get Zion back.
Right now they're 13, and ahead of them, because at 12 you've got the Trailblazers, 11 you've got the Thunder, 10 you've got the Jazz, 9 you've got Timberwolves, and then 8 Pelicans, 7 Warriors. So there's a lot of guys ahead of the Lakers.
Yeah,
that
they're not
they would
better
have
than
to.
any of those
They
teams.
got a tough schedule coming up too.
Yeah.
So I think they can get into the 10th spot and possibly fight for that play-in spot. But I wouldn't say that this means they're heading up the.
They're back. Lakers are back, baby.
I wouldn't say all of that. They're probably going to be in a better spot next year. But man, the other big story is Kevin Durant is back in the Western Conference, and he's now teaming with Chris Paul and Devin Booker to possibly be.
Things have really changed.
The surprise winners this year of the Western Conference Finals.
So again, I'm skeptical always of immediate success with big threes. Like, we've seen it before, but we've also seen it bomb. So like, I'm never immediately like, hey, we've got a big three trio together. This is it. They're immediately going to win. Because we literally just saw that with the Nets a year ago, and it bombed.
But there are two circumstances that make that big three different. A, James Harden. Never bet on James Harden. B, the Kyrie circus. When I saw that Kyrie missed 134 games as a Brooklyn Net, I was like, I didn't know it was that many games. That's more than 50% of the games over the last 2 seasons. That's crazy.
That wasn't even a big three. That nigga wasn't even there.
Yeah. So,
but then like the Lakers have had big three bombs. Like, at the end of the day, chemistry matters more than anything else. Like,
it does. But
it does.
The guy that I've seen that fits in more situations
is KD.
And KD, if you had questions of how well he can fit in, and looking at the way they run their offense in Phoenix, it's very similar to the way
anybody
the
that's
ran.
gonna be successful going out. It's KD.
So, I don't know.
That squad, I think Devin Booker's going to be the glue to hold this together. It's going to be tough.
It's really Devin's team at this point. Devin was the best player on the team before KD got there.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if I would say this year, but I think Suns are definitely favorites to win next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll see. I got to see how it all plays out. Like, I'm not, obviously we're in that period where we're not going to see how any of this shakes out till after All-Star break. And
I just gotta wait till the end of the season because I'm a goddamn Warriors fan, and Steph Curry likes
what the
to
heck
get
were
on when
the
he gets
Warriors
on.
doing? By the way, they didn't re-sign Gary Payton Jr. And then you made this trade for him now, and then I just saw that he didn't pass his physical. What's going on? What's going on with these guys, man?
We in the Bay Area, man. That's all it is.
So Van Twinblade says Guns did a hate crime.
I'm saying,
this was not a great week in terms of, because I saw on Dynamite. Let me think about this. On Dynamite, every black wrestler on the card lost, and on SmackDown, every black wrestler on the card lost. And I thought, it's Black History Month. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And on SmackDown, the Hit Row got squashed, I heard.
They did. To set up the next match with the Vikings. But I mean, you knew they were losing that match. They went against Drew and Sheamus. They weren't winning that match.
Oh, I didn't think they were gonna win. I thought when I saw it was a squash, I was like, really? But
it's Drew and Sheamus. Did you really? I wasn't shocked by that.
I mean, well, this goes with what you were saying last week about the tag division and how you aren't doing favors by that tournament they just did because of in a way where you're having Drew and Sheamus now kind of run through everybody who was in that tournament, a tournament that they were in and then were brought out of, and then you ended up having a team that was not in the tournament in Ricochet and Braun win. It's a lot of odd stuff
and then lose.
Yeah. Which we knew they were going to lose. We knew they had no chance of dethroning the Usos.
Then why book it? That's just such a strange booking decision, man.
Like, at this point, the Usos aren't losing the titles until WrestleMania. Like, you got to keep it going at this stage because it's such a record-setting reign that the victory has to be a monumental one. It's just, you can't just have it happen on a random SmackDown with a team that barely teams.
This week definitely made me feel like, again, the whole 2 titles thing is a mistake because watching Raw, having the Street Profits with nothing to do is a mistake. Those guys are just too good. They need something. And I get Montez is in the Elimination Chamber match. They're still teasing him going on a singles run, but nah, as much as Dawkins has returned, Dawkins was cooking this week, man. They've got to have something for that team to do other than just be there to do comedic stuff. Like, use them as a tag team, man. Like, that's I don't get it, man.
I think they're gonna face each other. I feel like the story that they're leading to is Montez getting all the singles glory and Angelo trying but not getting it. I think that if there was ever a reason for Angelo to turn, this past Monday was kind of it, and I think he probably will. and that's almost a WrestleMania match in itself. I think that's
I was
actually kind of a
against-
dope WrestleMania match.
I was against this turn for a while, but fucking do the turn, bro. I'm tired.
I mean,
of it.
I don't really have a problem with the turn. I just was sitting looking at them this week like, these guys are so good, and to think that there hasn't been titles on Raw for them to fight for in months is just a shame.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Ryan Ben says, shout out to Stephon Smith. What a bump. Oh, yeah, what a bump. Yeah, that was a good one. Crusher X says, fellas, nobody who likes Zack Snyder's DC movies are talking about the cut up theatrical versions. Just to clarify last week's super chat.
I guess if you liked 4-hour Justice League that they put on HBO Max, which was entertaining enough, but
That took a while to watch. I finished it eventually because it's hard because it's like this is ultimately the same movie, just obviously we went there a different direction. Which, like, honestly, because what was that show Ben Affleck did back in the day? It was like 10, 15 years ago, but he did, and the chat will remind me, but he did a show to kind of experiment with the idea that if you give the same script to two different directors, they'll create two different movies just because that's how.
I know what you're talking about. The show that was on Fox.
Yeah, and like the whole
like
idea,
Greenlight or something like that.
yeah, but like that idea is very true. You could see that with Justice League, where you literally handed it to Joss Whedon, and he's like, "Actually, I want to CG top lip over Henry Cavill because I want because he grew a mustache, and we need him to reshoot Superman, and it looks fucking awful." Anyway, though, D. Lara says,
Project Greenlight. That's what it was.
who would give Jay White a better entrance theme, AEW or WWE? I think Ruckus would make a banger for him. Just depends on how much time gets to be spent on it. I think Ruckus is a better producer than Def Rebel. I think there's no question about that. But I also think that does New Japan own his music? Because I think Jay would probably just take it with him if he went to AEW, whereas WWE would hand him a new theme.
Right.
Yeah, his current theme is fire too. He should take it with him.
Yeah. So I think he's headed to the Fed, though. That's my thought. Let's see. Shadow Shiny 20 says, hey, Grapsody, first time super chatter, but I have a hard question that has been burning inside me for months. Does Jericho put parm on his popcorn?
I have no idea, but you talked about something I laughed very hard at this week. That clip of him dancing on stage over the 3-6 Mafia. Cried laughing at
I
it.
just saw that.
Amazing. I don't know who made that, but amazing.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Chi-Town Spurs says, hey guys, I watched the first hour of SmackDown before switching to The Last of Us. I still haven't watched last night's episode yet. But OMG, by the way, what a show. Is it me or without the bloodline, the show is severely lacking anything interesting?
Yes.
It depends on what we're talking about, because I agree that all of the stuff worth watching last night was the bloodline stuff. But at the same time, I cannot just, jump over what Gunther has done as Intercontinental Champion. I think he's been tremendous. I think the stuff that they've been doing to build up contenders for him has been great. I don't know about this Madcap match, but I think...
at least it's not for the pay-per-view. That was my worry, was when they announced that. I'm like, oh, you're going to do that on pay-per-view? But no, it's next week on SmackDown, so...
Yeah, but I think a lot of stuff is working, but boy, the women's stuff is not hitting on SmackDown, bro. That match last night with Lacey was not for me, buddy. The return of Ronda Rousey couldn't have felt like any more of a non-story. It just felt like it just happened. I was like, okay, so you had Natty who beat Shayna, and I felt like that was the end of that storyline. And then she called out Shayna again, and I was like, but why? You beat her. I don't know. I don't get it.
So I'll agree with that in the sense that, I watching last week's SmackDown, all I wanted to see the whole show was bloodline stuff. I haven't seen SmackDown this week, so I can't really comment one way or the other on how things on the rest of the show went. But the stuff I have seen, I just went and looked up bloodline clips. Like, I'm like, all right, I was home for the opening segment. I saw all that, and then I had to get in the car pretty much as soon as Sami Zayn came out. And so, like, all right, let me finish that segment. And then I was like, all right, now I want to see the, Jay Uso show up because I know he was going to show up. And I'm like, okay, well, I heard there was a backstage segment. Let me see Jay Uso and Sami Zayn. That's all I've seen from the show. I haven't seen anything else. but I went out of my way to find that stuff because that is, at the very least, the most interesting thing happening in. Yeah, it's must-watch TV. So, no complaints about it at all. Tina Keys says, good morning. Just want to show love. End of the Switchblade era. The future franchise versus Swerve tonight. Be good to each other. Hugs.
Oh, that's right. And Defy Wrestling tonight, if you're in the area, it's a Swerve versus a very good, talented, young up-and-coming wrestler named Titus Alexander. They have a great show out there. I think Mox is out there too. So if you're in the area for Defy, they put on some really great shows, and you should definitely check it out.
Yeah. Has OTT announced what they're doing in Ireland to replace Mox for Scrappermania? Because I feel like they finally did say something. But like people were like, this is March 18th, and John Moxley is literally the person advertised for this AEW house show on March 18th. What's happening here?
Say something.
And people have been, I think they finally said, like, we'll have an announcement here soon. But it was interesting that the main guy on the poster for Scrappermania is John Moxley, March 18th. But then the main guy on the poster for the AEW house show, March 18th, is John Moxley. You absolutely know that AEW takes precedence here, especially in Ohio, where they're using John Moxley to sell the tickets. You're only going to... Yeah, so I thought that was interesting, and these house shows are going to be, we talked about the house show stuff and last week, and Fightful had a report as far as what the house shows are going to mean to the contracts and how they're actually to AEW's favor because of the fact that they have all the wrestlers have so many dates on their contracts. But none of the wrestlers are coming anywhere close to those dates. Like we talked to one specific wrestler who has like 100 dates on his contract. AEW only does like 52 shows a year. Like this is only, or 52 weeks of TV they do. On occasion, they obviously do the pay-per-views and they do the Battle of the Belts. But for the most part, no one's hitting their numbers as far as their dates. So they can honestly get more out of these guys with the house shows and not come close to hitting the dates on these contracts. So it's actually to the AEW's benefit to continue using guys for more stuff than they're using them for. So I get that actually.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the OTT is going to do, but it's interesting. It is interesting every time I see OTT because I'm just like, dang, what is OTT doing? Because I remember when OTT was hot. That's how
Super
I discovered Walter. Like I started watching his matches through there, and like that's the same thing. That's how I discovered Jordan Devlin before he became McDonough?
JD McDonough.
So yeah, that we got
or
that
Hetty
fire.
Murphy, either one.
Yo. But yeah, we got that Fire Osprey pack match with OTT, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So I hope they're able to make up for that because obviously I think Moxley was a big get for them. Yeah. Deontay says, good to see y'all again. Been MIA for a minute. Reg got NWO 2000 stuck in my head. Gun Club. Anyways, wrestling is interesting, but I love it. Jay versus Cole. Oh, I didn't even think about that. That Adam Cole has a mystery opponent he's got to announce this week.
Oh, right.
And he's a babyface now.
Right.
Might be onto something.
I didn't even consider that. I mean, that'd be cool, but I don't know who they have planned for Adam Cole.
2 weeks after the San Jose show, he's going to be on that show, too.
I mean, yeah. I like it.
That's not bad. That's actually a good way to go.
It is.
I didn't even consider that.
Wow.
It says also, as a matter of fact, that ties up loose ends. That's
Yep.
Yeah. Even if
we're going to find out Wednesday. He's, Adam Cole is going to issue a challenge on Wednesday in his sit down with Renee Paquette that was announced this week that he is going to tell the world who he wants at Revolution. And I was looking at the roster. I'm like, who could it be who's not tied up in something right now?
Interesting. Now that could work. I mean, even if he doesn't sign with AEW, that makes sense that he would want to go and finish up that storyline before he does anything else.
Right.
Damn. I didn't even think about that. That's actually a really good option. So also, MJF should be arrested, locked up, no bread. All love, y'all. Yeah, I mean, that is quite a story to have. That was quite a story to have told.
Wild, dude. MJF, man, every time that this guy gets a big match, he shows out, and he showed out in the opener of Dynamite this week. That match was amazing.
That was fantastic.
That's what's crazy about Dynamite. Like if Dynamite wasn't wild and it was just that match and a bunch of fucking squash matches or something, that match will be like one of the best matches we ever seen. But then like 10 minutes later, we see one of the other best matches we've seen. Then 10 minutes later, we see what it's like. They don't line up over there.
Roosh is in this mode where he's very clearly got something to prove.
Yeah, chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he and Bryan had a very, very violent match. It was so good, and then it was like, nah, but the Elite, Top Flight, and AR Fox are gonna do their thing as well.
Like think how different that Bryan Danielson wrestled a Mexican wrestler like 3 weeks ago, and
very different match.
So insanely different than the Mexican wrestler that he wrestled this week. Like that's how amazing Bryan Danielson is, the greatest pro wrestler of our generation. I don't know. I
think he's the GOAT, honestly. But I've been saying that for years. Like this isn't one of those things where it's like, oh, you love him because he's in AEW. Like, nah, man. There is literally a Daniel Bryan poster right behind this monitor. That right behind my camera, I have a Daniel Bryan. Like, I felt for the longest time that Bryan is the greatest in-ring performer, but I think that the reason I think he's the greatest all around is because I don't think there's a single thing Bryan's bad at. You remember when Kanye once made that statement where he said, I don't think I'm the greatest in any particular category, but I'm top 5 in every category. And like
that was cap.
Yeah, obviously.
that was definitely cap.
But I think as far as Bryan is concerned, I think that's somebody you can apply that to, where it's like, it's not so much that Bryan's the greatest at one particular thing, but he is like top 5 at everything. Totally. I think he is like, I hate that people don't put Bryan in the conversation for one of the best promos in the game because like when I think of some of my all-time favorite promos, when I think of Bryan's, believe in your dreams, or fight for your dreams and your dreams will fight for you, like that promo gets me every time. And
I feel like he jumped into that spot after he came back from retirement. Bryan, after he came back from retirement, was an incredible talker.
I was just actually thinking about this whole thing because I thought it's from right now for me, like the greatest ever is between Bryan and Kenny Omega. And I was thinking, because I think they both can do what each other does, but I don't know if say they switch roles and Kenny Omega was in the WWE, I don't know if his run would have went the same as Bryan Danielson's did. But if Bryan Danielson was in New Japan, his run would have went just as good or better than Kenny Omega. And I think that's kind of where I land with it,
there's just Bryan is so good at what he does. Yeah, he is amazing. And like, honestly,
he main event at WrestleMania. That's like, and he's that like, I can't even compute the type of wrestler that he is. I remember when he first got signed to WWE, and I was like, this is not gonna work. That's Bryan Danielson. Like, he's not a WWE wrestler, but that's how great he is. That he took his shit and did that and had a Hall of Fame career over there, going half-ass, as he says in his own book.
And the funny thing is too, he because I made that post where I said, stop me if you've heard this before, but Bryan Danielson is the greatest wrestler in the business. And one guy was like, he said, maybe I'm alone here, but I find him boring. And that, and what he said was,
alone.
Yeah, well, what he said specifically was, I didn't think Bryan became entertaining until the Authority stuff. And I almost replied to that, and I was like, I'll leave that alone. But I was like, I think the piece you're missing is that Bryan, prior to the Authority, like if you had seen what Bryan was doing beforehand, and granted, a lot of people haven't, right? We're talking about World Wrestling Entertainment at a time where they had 4 or 5 million viewers, compared to, obviously us online dudes who are watching shit in Ring of Honor. But knowing what Bryan was capable of, that was a frustrating couple of years, but it was only a few years, right? From 2010 till 2013, where we're like, God, we just want to see like Bryan Danielson. You remember how much people were like, just wait until he can unleash cattle mutilation in WWE, then it's on, right? Like people were like, we just want to see him do what he does best. And we saw flashes of it. Like in 2010, he had some phenomenal matches with Dolph Ziggler. And obviously he was United States champion, all of that. But really it was when he got to show that he had character work in 2012 that it was like, okay, now we're getting somewhere with Bryan. And then in 2013, when he brings it all together, when we're seeing him as this world-class wrestler having those matches with the Shield, and he's got the character work too, it was like done. We knew what Bryan had to offer. But those couple of years were frustrating for Bryan fans. You remember when they put Bryan out there dancing with the Bellas? Like, and then go figure, he ends up marrying one of them. But
he's like, thanks for doing that.
Hey man, I don't get too upset with people that only know his WWE stuff because
Yeah,
I don't get
a
upset
bigger
with
audience.
Right.
It's just
I think it's just a point to understand that wasn't really his fault. They just didn't know how to use him at first, and then once they figured it out, they got the most out of you.
Bryan Danielson wasn't entertaining until 2013 is just like that. Just sounds crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
Chi-Town Spurs says Shawn Michaels is MJ, great player and wrestler, horrible owner and booker. I don't think he's horrible. I just think that I see Reg nodding.
Points were made.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
What is he doing good up over there, Will Washington?
Look, I mean, it's
we just all talked about how we don't watch that show.
But I think that because I think what's interesting is that Shawn he definitely spent a lot of time with Vince McMahon, and I think he did.
Spent his son.
Yeah, I know he should have been in that report Meltzer put out about what all the McMahons are getting. Like, what does Shawn Michaels get? He's been Vince's son forever.
Ooh,
but
Stephanie coming up, she's like, sell this fucking business, bro. Let me get that cake.
Yeah, but thinking about Shawn and how much he very much knows Vince and understands Vince, I think he was the right person to put in place to book NXT. For NXT to become a show to cater to Vince's vision for pro wrestling. But I do think there's a massive disconnect now between what NXT puts out and what Hunter's doing. Yeah. And I think that I don't see a lot of guys in the NXT run right now that make me feel like you could slot them in to Hunter's style and get the most out of it. I don't know. I think that there needs to be a little bit of a shift.
I think Carmelo can.
I hope Carmelo can.
I think Carmelo's the guy. But yeah.
I mean, because my concern with Carmelo, of course, was that Vince was going to see his height and go basically have the same reaction he had with Adam Cole. And so thinking about
I'm still worried about it because where the hell is Johnny Gargano at?
He's in the Elimination Chamber match.
Oh, that's right. He's not going to win though.
I think Johnny's run has been a dud so far, and I think that
I do think he's a good option to win it though. If Theory doesn't,
if it's not Theory,
I think that Johnny makes a lot of sense because Theory was his initial feud when he came back. He beat Theory in that match. It makes a lot of sense for him to win that match if it's not Theory.
I could at least see him being final too. But yeah, I have concerns over the fact that like Johnny doesn't feel over at all.
But it's the Loomis stuff. He stayed with Loomis too long. I don't understand bringing a guy in with that. His appeal is that he's a very good wrestler and having him lose wrestling matches. It just
he hasn't been having like big wrestling matches.
That's what I mean. You're putting him in matches and then you're having him lose to guys like Corbin. It just doesn't make sense. I don't understand why you book him that way.
Speaking of Corbin, that was a scoop I slipped into. I was talking to somebody at WWE who was just like, "Oh yeah, JBL is done." And so I didn't report that. I only told you guys. And I told you guys right beforehand. I was like, yeah. So I hear JBL's just not going to be on the road anymore. You know what I'm concerned about in this? Genuine question. Not to fully knock the guy, but at some point you do have to ask how many times you can reboot someone. Do you reboot Corbin Reg?
Get that big that thing at when they used to do the Apollo the Sandman, that big stick. Look out, dude. Nice knowing
hook.
you.
CP Lacey with the hook.
You're gone, bro. What are they gonna do? What's Baron Corbin gonna do? He's been here for 10 years doing this shit. No one gives a fuck.
Well, I said at the beginning of this, and this is when I still regularly tweeted my opinions, and I was like, yo, this is not working for Corbin. It's not going to work for Corbin because a lot of people that are interested in it, like JBL, they're not interested in it because it's putting Corbin over, and the people that clearly don't like it don't like JBL. I was just like, I just don't feel like this is
wasn't
going
to work ever. You know,
yeah, I don't feel like this is doing him any favors. So when I saw that this was leading to him leaving Corbin high and dry, I was like, so what did this accomplish? And then he proceeded to bury him. He completely buried him.
I guess they could go back to the most popular thing that Baron Corbin's ever done, and that's bum ass Corbin. People really like that for some reason.
Why
I guess this could lead to that.
Question out of that: why is Madcap Moss still Madcap Moss? Why did he keep that name?
I haven't seen that cap in months.
Like, seriously, why did he keep that name? Because you left Corbin, so why are you now still Madcap Moss? And like,
talk about like awful. Oh my god, Madcap Moss won a match, and I hate that.
But he is good. I think he's a good wrestler.
This week about it's just that transitional champ shit. Fucking get out of my face with this bullshit. The Guns are just transitional champs for FTR. That's a stupid fucking story, and fuck all y'all and fuck that story. The Guns are one of the worst teams I've seen in a long time. There's a difference between like people are like, oh yeah, that's what they're supposed to do. They're heels. No, I don't want to see these guys at all. I don't want to see them lose. I don't want to see them win. I don't want to see them talk. I don't want to see shit from Austin or Colton or Billy or Bart. Any of the smoking
or Bart.
I want to see none of this shit.
So wait, how did you jump from that to Madcap though? It's like I thought we were still in the Madcap stuff.
They feel exactly the same for me. Like it's the same for Madcap Moss. I don't want to see him win. I don't want to see him lose. I don't want to see him talk. I don't want to see shit from this guy. It's like
you don't want to see him come out with
action.
You don't want to see him come out with Emma and like them go, look, these guys are together. Not. Like he ditched his young guy.
That's all I want from Emma. I don't want Madcap Moss.
He ditched his young lion trunks this week, and we got the storyline that Emma got him new gear. What do you mean?
It's like I know that there's a place for everybody in wrestling, but like, what if there just wasn't?
I'll say this on the Gun story though, because
I just didn't have to see Jinder Mahal, okay?
Because
we don't. When is the last time you seen him?
He's on NXT now. Yeah.
Well, see, I don't watch that, so.
So, the Gun story, and like, yeah, I had the opening on Day After Dynamite this week that I did kind of predict this one like 2 months ago.
Thanks for nothing, Will Washington.
I predicted it like beat for beat. I said that they were gonna.
I also knew they were gonna win.
Y'all are nasty. Okay.
I said they're gonna beat FTR, and then they were going to beat the Acclaimed by getting one over on their dad finally for turning his back on them. Although they turned on him, but either way, they were going to get one over on their dad, win the titles, and then probably lose to a returning FTR. And I'm betting that happens really soon. As a matter of fact, if that happens at Revolution, because here's the one thing I'll give them. The reaction that the fans had online was exactly what
that's what they want.
No, Excalibur was saying it on commentary. Excalibur screaming. I thought the best line Excalibur had was, "You mean to tell me with the depth of tag teams that we have, with this division of tag teams that we have built here at AEW, that the Guns are the AEW World Tag Team Champions?" And like the disgust that you could hear from Excalibur talking about the Guns being champions. And like, it's clear that this is what they're supposed to be. Now, I will say this.
That sucks.
If they lose the belts at Revolution to either team, they could lose them to the Acclaimed. I think they're going to lose them to FTR. If that happens, then you do kind of milestone the Acclaimed, not the Acclaimed. You do milestone the Guns in that they officially get to go down as the shortest reigning AEW Tag Team Champions if they lose them at Revolution. because the Bucks have that currently, but because the Bucks had them for a month, they wouldn't have them for a month. It would be less. And I think that that's not so bad because then you can kind of like put that on them as kind of a jokey thing with them that, well, you guys couldn't even hold on to the titles for a month. And they can kind of go back to being some guys you kind of poke fun at. I don't know that I hate this so much. I hated the way it was executed for certain. I think that something was off. We heard, of course, that the bunny has the broken orbital bone, which ended up they had to go home early on their match, the bunny versus Jamie Hayter, which resulted in, I think, some time being lost from the show significantly. And so when that main event ended, I was like head scratching. I thought they're just kind of like standing around now.
Yeah, that was weird.
And then they end up playing the Claims theme at the
the execution was but I was sitting there. First of all, I predicted that they were gonna win, and then when I saw their main event, I was like, "Oh yeah, Guns definitely."
Yeah, oh for sure.
So I don't think this is bad, and I don't think it's a bad story either, because if you follow this all the way from the FDR stuff, then beating them, coming out and doing the Rest in Peace FDR segment, which I thought that segment was funny.
I was resting in peace watching that shit.
I think this makes sense. Right after they won, Austin tweeted the Top Guns pick with them drinking the same tequila and everything. I was like, it's pretty clear where they're going with this. FTR is going to come back and beat them. And I even understand the booking decision of having them beat the Guns instead of beating the Acclaimed, because we've seen how over the Acclaimed are. We've seen that if you put the Acclaimed next to another face tag team, you run the risk of the crowd hijacking it and booing the other team and cheering for the Acclaim. We saw that all out. So you wouldn't have them. I think this makes all the sense in the world to have FTR beat a heel team instead of beating them.
Right.
And I feel like this was set up for some time. I don't think that this was like a rash decision at all or anything along those lines. I think
know a way that you can combat that Acclaim shit, though. If Acclaim would have stayed champions and you brought back FTR as a return, the fans wouldn't have turned on him. You bring back, you have it claimed in the ring, blah blah blah, open challenge. Then FTR comes out, huge pop.
But I wouldn't do that to a babyface though, because I think in this instance, the Acclaimed can save face by saying they got screwed, and so they save face by remaining strong baby faces in this sense, and FTR gets to get a victory, become tag team champions.
FTR should be tag team champions.
Right, without screwing your other babyface team because you'd handicap your other babyface team by having a babyface beat them. That is there is an issue there, and I think that they went the right
lost
direction.
To some fucking losers.
But I think that's the story, because like I said, the storyline of FTR going on this losing streak, and then, like I said, part of that losing streak was losing to the Guns, and that's really one of the things that brought the Guns back to TV. And then they ended up winning the titles while FTR was away. And again, as Excalibur pointed out on TV, with the wealth of great tag team wrestling here, and this is a company that is kind of known for its tag team wrestling. The face of that is the Guns. Who better to beat them than the best tag team from last year?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think my guess here is that next week in Phoenix, I believe, is where Dynamite is. First time in Phoenix, by the way, at the Suns Arena. And they actually have a really good turnout for that show thus far, as tickets are concerned. I think it'll probably cross. Let me be sure about this statement before I make it out loud, because I kind of remember where it was. But let's see. So if I look at where those ticket sales are, last check, Phoenix. And by the way, shout out El Paso. El Paso came through because people were like concerned about those tickets because the maps weren't looking. I think the maps were like kind of stuck around somewhere in like the 3,500 area. And then they just had like this massive walk-up crowd. And people were pointing out to this Bruce Pritchard podcast where Bruce Pritchard talked about El Paso, Texas. And he talked about how Vince was concerned because they weren't selling tickets in El Paso. And then they had like one of the biggest walk-up crowds that the WWE had ever seen. And so people on Twitter were like, "Yeah, that's just how we Latinos do. We wait till last minute." And
I was gonna say, it feels like a lot more of Texas is like that too. It's not just El Paso.
Latinx community showed out, buddy. They took over that crowd on Wednesday night.
Yeah, it was huge. It was great. But yeah, they ended up selling close to like 700 something walk-up tickets, which is just like insane when you think about that.
But yeah, I definitely agree with your tweet, Will, that it's time to give Texas a pay-per-vieiew because Texas has been great for AEW for the last few months. They've got to get Texas a pay-per-view.
So Phoenix is currently sitting at a little over 6,000. They'll cross 7 by the time the show hits. Nice. But anyway,
it's gonna be a hot crowd.
Especially because it's the first time Arizona as a whole has gotten anything. I bet you they do the Casino Tag Royale again. That's a favorite of Tony Khan's, and FTR wins that.
Yeah,
because why not? And then you've got your match for Revolution. Because the Casino Tag Royale, because I know Tony has 2 of them, right? They do either the Tag Battle Royale, which has been fine, and then the Casino Tag Royale is Royal Rumble rules with tag teams, which I think works out a little bit better. So,
yeah. I mean, it would help if they had another big major heel tag team for FDR to beat, but at the same time, they've established that the Guns are the heel tag team that they have the story with, so it makes sense. I think people that are upset about this, I hate to use you're supposed to be upset about it, but you are. You're supposed to not like that the Guns won. And it didn't bother me that much. Like I said, I guess because I've been expecting this to happen. It didn't bother me. Looking at the end of Dynamite this last week and seeing them walk out with those titles did look wild. I was like, the Guns are really champions. Like, this is crazy.
I know we're hearing that music play. Like that music is like a staple of watching AEW Dark to me. And all of a sudden, man, hearing that into Dynamite was just like a wild visual, a wild everything. But
FTR is going to be tag champ, so it's working. It's going to work out.
Shout out to Sandra, by the way, for lacing Colton with that great ring jacket.
The Shawn Michaels style.
The whole him doing the Shawn gear stuff is funny, but man, he did look great coming out in that. So shout out to Sandra.
Yeah,
their dad's Billy Gunn, but they have Shawn Michaels gear. I really don't know.
Wait, is that supposed to be another like shot at FTR in a sense that FTR are the Brett guys and they wear the Shawn gear?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Yes. But I mean, look at it this way: like that makes sense. That their dad is Billy Gunn, but nobody thinks that their dad is the coolest guy in the girl. Like, no, you were in a stable with the real guy that was cool.
He almost might have been like at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to DX.
No, it was definitely
Road Dogg.
I mean, Roddy's awful, but his shit was over, dude.
Yeah, it depends
over,
because WWE wanted Billy to be the guy, right?
Yeah.
Like when you think about
they
DX,
tried until Rock's annihilated him in a promo.
But like every single time,
he never came back from there.
DX did anything in that time period. Commentary was always like the best athlete in DX is Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn is the athlete of D-Generation X, and
still looks great. He's fucking huge, man.
Yeah. But the Road Dogg stuff was over as hell. Like, sometimes it weirds me out when I watch old Road Dogg stuff and he's like, because the only stuff that stuck around in his in the nostalgia form is the ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, all that stuff, right? But like he had like 5 or 6 catchphrases that were all over, right? He always opened up with "Welcome to the dog house," and then the crowd would all start barking, and then he'd say, "Well, we always kick that shiz knit doggy style," and the crowd would always sing along with doggy style, and like
big culture vulture vibes.
I know.
Kick
big
that
culture
shiz
vulture
knit.
vibes.
Absolutely. But all that stuff was over. Every single catchphrase Road Dogg had was over. And then like you
make a very awful joke. I was like, that leads to my Black History Month moment of the week. Generation X one time.
Stop.
One time DX showed up on screen and Mark Henry was X-Pac.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, so we got on the topic of NXT, Jake Salazar says, "Reg, that WWE system of wrestling is snooze fest, just a bunch of Miz and Baron Corbins." J Love says Braun Breaker, Mello, and Toxic Attraction got next.
Well,
I don't know if
there's no
Braun
more
does.
Toxic
I don't think
Attraction.
Toxic Attraction got next.
I mean, yeah, I would have thought that coming out of the pay-per-view. But Jake also says, who other than white women listening to Harry Styles? Come on now.
I don't know. Can't answer that question for you.
Let's see. And Sean Tragedy says the biggest selling WWE superstars, Bad Bunny.
I think he's trying to say that he should have been up for album of the year. I think that's what that's in reference to.
Aha. Lux Pro Music says, hey, fellas, with Cody becoming champ, are we worried he's going to be squashed by Brock Lesnar, suffering the same fate as all of our black champions?
So I have to say, at first, this is a reference to our group chat. Will was like, nah, Cowboy Brock ain't for me. And at first I was like, I agree with you. But that was before I actually watched Raw this week. The Brock segment this week was great. I'm sorry, it was great. I think him coming out and giving that whole man, I've been thinking about is Bobby Lashley. I crawl into my bed at night. Did that look around? I was like, nah, Brock's got this. And it did make me think that they have been wasting this guy's talent for years, making him this like part-timer that had to pretend he hates wrestling and hates the fans.
City guy, yeah.
And it made you not interested in seeing Brock. It definitely made me feel that way. Like, I don't want to see this guy because all of his matches are predictable. He beats everybody, and then he just goes away. All of it was boring to me. And I feel like this is the most that I think he's been interesting as a character in a very long time.
I mean, I think something had to shift along the way because think about when they first brought Brock Lesnar back in 2012 and they tried to make him talk. And it was awful.
Whoa,
and them promos were so bad.
They were like, somebody call Paul Heyman.
That's exactly what
hurry up.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, Brock, he came back, he grabbed the microphone, and like they had him in there with Big Johnny, and they're just having the worst promos you've heard. Yeah, so awful promos. And I thought, oh my God, they're gonna sink Brock Lesnar because like he came back with this huge moment, massive pop. He F5 John Cena. It was one of the best moments that we had seen as far as a return on Raw. And then he's cutting promos, and they're so bad. And then like a month later, Paul Heyman comes out, and I remember thinking, thank goodness, don't let Brock talk ever again. Just let Paul Heyman do the talking, and we're good here. Let's just go back to the way things were. And they did. Yeah. And I think they had the right intentions there, but there were little flashes of greatness Brock was showing when he was in an kind of unscripted environment. Like, remember when he was talking about what he was going to do to John Cena for the WWE Championship? Going into SummerSlam, they had those sit downs with him, and he's like, I'm going to leave John Cena laying in his own pile of piss and shit and vomit. And I was like, where was that Brock on the microphone? That's what I want to see. Like, as long as he's just like talking like Brock Lesnar would.
Because like handing Brock Lesnar a script and telling him to say these words does not.
But see, I think that's what I've enjoyed more about Brock lately is that this feels like who he really is. Like, this doesn't feel like a character. It just feels like this is Brock Lesnar walking out there and talking like he usually would off screen.
I don't know that because I feel like he just like one day accidentally slipped into the cowboy accent in the middle of a promo and then was like, I don't know how to stop.
Yeah,
I'm just talking like this. I don't know what's going on, fellas. But like and like I said, I get why people like Cowboy Brock. Cowboy Brock is not for me. And there's a little piece of me that like my stomach turns every time I see like Cowboy Brock, like F5, a black wrestler, and I'm like,
I know if I saw Cowboy Brock in my city with his big giant truck with his American flag on the back, I'd be going the other way. So
right. I think that's what it is. I think I just feel like uncomfortable with this.
Yeah, I'm uncomfortable with this guy.
But see, that's the thing. I get that part. I get why the good old boy stuff is uncomfortable. But I also feel like this is the most genuine he's felt. And I had my
like he's a good old boy.
Yeah, I had my reservations about the Lashley feud, but I think the Lashley feud that they've been doing for a year has actually been good. I think that It would have been one thing if he just beat Lashley every time, but I think they've been slowly giving Lashley his moments. I think him having a moment at Royal Rumble was good. I think telling the story you did at Crown Jewel, Jewel, and he didn't really beat Bobby in that match. He just kind of survived Bobby.
You think they're gonna stretch this Elimination Chamber match to Mania?
No, I think
No,
this
think
is
this
the
is
final
the
chapter.
This is it.
Yeah. I mean, so
What are they gonna do
there's
with both
things
these
I've
guys at the show then? Like, what's Brock Lesnar gonna do at Mania?
I don't know. Maybe they've been they hinted at the Gunther thing, but they've also put their report out there about the triple threat.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
like there's been things I've liked about the Bobby Lashley Brock Lesnar stuff, but then like this week I wasn't a huge fan just because there's something to the F5 that like it's a great finisher in a match, but what I don't like about the F5 is
when the person is not damaged or groggy or anything.
right, but it's like I just
like,
put you on my shoulders and you
like,
suddenly just
hop
lost.
off, Bobby Lashley. Why are you staying up there? You're not even hurt or anything.
I didn't like this at all. In that, like Bobby's just walking away, and Brock's like, "No, I'm gonna hoist you on my shoulders and just hold you here." And Bobby's like, "Well, I guess can't do anything." And I'm like,
put me down.
like in a match it works, but I'm never a fan of the fireman's carry type finish in a segment like that where you've suddenly lost control of your limbs and can't like Bobby.
Like, if you hold it up there for longer than 1 second, like Bobby Lashley is just sitting there, and that's dumb. So.
Yeah, and I don't think that looked good. And I think it kind of makes Bobby look a little foolish. But I want to read.
He turned his back on him too, which also was the ultimate stupid thing. I'm like, you've been in segments with this guy for a year.
So
you
many
know
times.
he's gonna pick you up at F5. Why would
And
you?
he's
do that?
got me
and so-
from the back a lot of times. Pause. I don't even know if you could say that anymore. But he's came up from the back and got one over on you. Why would you turn your back again to this guy who hates black people, as we see as a wrestling character?
Wrestling character. I don't know. If it's a
Aaron
character, but
Valmont.
okay.
Aaron Valmont says, "Give me Jay White versus Kenny as the main event at Forbidden Door." I mean, it sounds like you may not like it's. I don't think it's going to be a Forbidden Door thing.
I did notice something. If you watched the New Beginnings tonight, which, like I said, was a great show, and one of the storylines for this show was Tanahashi is trying to become a main eventer again because he's the same age that Keiji Muto was when he beat Keiji Muto to go on his run that made Tanahashi. And so he feels like, no, I still can do this. And so at the end of the show, he challenged, well, he didn't challenge him. Okada challenged him after an incredible match with Shingo Takagi. Go out of your way to watch that match. Very good match.
Yeah.
But after he beat Shingo, he challenged Tanahashi, and that is going to be the match for Battle in the Valley. And afterwards, Okada says that, this is one of my most popular feuds, but American viewers have never seen Okada versus Tanahashi in person, which is another notch in my theory that we will see Okada versus Omega in America, because I don't know, man. Just him saying that, it definitely like lit this note in my head. Like, why would he say that? Like,
Wow, I get to watch next week Okada and Tanahashi live. That's amazing. That's insane. I never thought that I'd be able to see that in person with my eyes.
yeah, and I think it's going to be a great match.
Totally.
San Jose show looks like it's going to be a good one.
Looks crazy. I'm excited to see Mercedes, baby. It's going to be a great show. I'm super excited about that show next week.
Yeah, definitely good to see that one coming off of, like I said, a very good show last night. I mean, we talked about Jay leaving Japan, but I thought Jay versus Hikuleo was very good. The storytelling in that match was incredible.
I just watched that Leo Rush promo too. That was dope.
That was the thing that I was the most excited about, as you can see. Get Leo his moment. We're talking about Black History. Leo will be the first Black IWGP Junior Heavyweight.
Let's go, baby. That's hard.
I'm ready for it. I thought the video package was very good. I thought
his promo was dope.
Hiromu's reaction was great to it, running backstage, and then you had Naito in the ring that was kind of pointing out random people in the crowd, like, there he is, there's Leo there. It's like, no, he's not there. What are you talking about?
Yeah, good shit.
But yeah, I'm super excited about New Japan at the moment.
Let's see. Zero Prime says, "Yo, Will, what happened to Sheeta in the storyline with OG versus newcomers? I know she's back in the States, but what happened? Because she was on the cruise, and Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the follow-up is yet, but there's also 3 weeks to... I don't know what they're doing at Revolution as far as the storyline is concerned and who's going to be number one contender for the title. Like, clearly Tony had a plan for that triple threat with Britt and Ruby and Tony Storm because they're running it back again. Literally.
That must be to set up something, huh?
Yeah. So, obviously... that was a match that Tony had intentions for, so I'm curious what that is. DVD Movie Buffer says, love watching Stardom. Good wrestlers there, look like rock stars, and matches are always great. I wish they could work with WWE. That crossover I want.
That is not the crossover I want.
I mean, yeah, I never really got the idea of wanting to see WWE crossovers per se, because like they're the biggest company in the world. What do you necessarily get out of a crossover there? Like, you know, they're not going to win any of the championships there. And you know that they're going to protect their talent. Like I get the sense of wanting to see certain dream matchups, but to be honest, I'd rather those people just sign there than come in as outside performers. That's me though.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think if we're looking at crossover stuff, there are other companies I would rather see that with than WWE. But again, that's not knocking, you know, what DVD Buffer.
Speaking of crossovers, Impact really took it to Righteous Reg and figured out a way to get some people over there with the little money that they have, right? They got me right out here.
Right on up.
Hey, New Japan, let's like be friends so we can like do this thing. Now people are talking about this Mercedes tease and that she might, because Impact's been talking about her on the TV show. I'm like, maybe they figured out a way to, you know, shut your boy up, and I'm very excited about it. Now Impact is doing a lot of great stuff over there, honestly. They've been setting like just their show, they've been setting up some great shit. They got a pay-per-view coming up in a few weeks. And then that WrestleMania weekend show that they have with New Japan is crazy. Will Ospreay and Mike Bailey in the main event. Kushida and Josh Alexander. It's pretty lit out there for Impact. No lie. And shout out to also on the same lines, MLW did a pretty good number debuting on Reels. 79,000. I don't know what they did this week, but shout out to them for launching off with a nice little brand, you know.
I actually watched it. I watched both. I was not feeling Enzo. That is
not for me.
Well, I didn't realize how tired his act was. I liked Enzo back in the day. I was one of the few people who was like, I mean, we had an argument on this show. I was like, nah, Enzo wasn't so bad. But man, that
I mean, which Enzo are we talking about? Enzo as a tag team wrestler with Kaz was great. Enzo as a cruiserweight champion, no thanks.
Yeah. Like I've always thought that Enzo had something special on the mic. But man, does it feel like he has not evolved that act in any way, shape, or form.
So exactly the same as when we were watching it in WWE.
Yeah.
And not in a good way.
Yeah, he had a confrontation at the top of that show with Jacob Fatu, and I'm like, this is the same. He hasn't done anything new.
He called him soft?
In a lot of ways, he used the whole smack talk a Skywalker line, and like it was all the same stuff. And it's like, you know what? This act is from 5 years ago. So
speaking of which, Mela is back, and she is doing the original gimmick again. I wasn't expecting that. Interesting. I like Carmella, so that's not a knock at her. But I was just very surprised she's back to doing the other gimmick after she put so much work into changing her look and everything.
Speaking of gimmicks, how you feel about the little Chelsea Green Karen gimmick? You like that?
I think it's working right now. I think that the segments she's done this week have worked, and I think it works because she gets to come up until she loses. But I do wonder what is the shelf life on it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how long does this thing last? Like,
but right now I think she's doing a great job with it.
Let's see. Laying the SmackDown Wrestling and Sports says Corbin has more gimmick changes than Mick Foley and Bray combined.
Corbin does have a lot. At least they let him take his shirt off again. Probably gonna tell him to put it back on.
Jake Salazar says, Reg, this is the most interesting the tag titles have felt since they've been taken off of Swerve and Lee. Acclaim's title run was garbage. I disagree with that.
Whoa.
Completely. I'm sorry, but it was. They're back in the mid card where they belong. I disagree with all of that. And no, that is a yikes take, because I feel like the Acclaimed, I think they had, let's think about this. SCU, Kenny and Hangman, FTR, the Young Bucks, Lucha Bros, Jurassic Express, Young Bucks, Swerve in Our Glory, and the Acclaimed. So we're talking 9 tag title runs. This is the 10th. Yeah, I can confidently say that. No, I think they were the most over baby faces you've had as tag team champions. And I think that they were...
Every show that I've been to, they've been the most overact, like by far. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And they remained over because like you could start to sense through Jurassic Express's reign, people were starting to get like, it's time for them to lose the belts. You could sense through... with the Young Bucks, people were calling for them to turn heel, and they did turn heel. And then even Lucha Bros, I think, got cut short. They didn't really get as much of a reign as I would have liked to see from them. But point being, this is the first time babyfaces have lost tag team titles in AEW, and the fans are like, no, they weren't done. What are you doing? Yeah. For the most part, every single time the babyfaces have lost, they're like, okay, it was time to move on.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Now people were still clamoring for more of the Acclaim as tag team.
People are like they didn't get enough of them and they want more. And so, no, I disagree. I think it was a successful reign.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I don't really understand the take, but if you're arguing like talented babyface tag team, maybe there are more talented acts that were tag team champions. But as far as popular with those titles, it's not even close.
Yeah.
And he says the whole Gun family is the only reason the Acclaimed are so over. I disagree.
I don't believe that.
Because of one catchphrase.
Stop this cap, Jake. Stop
that only works for Billy Gunn.
Stop this cap, bro. Like, cut it out.
And Bugaboo Jones says the Acclaimed, Top Flight, and AR Fox all losing in Black History Month. The audacity.
Yeah, I mean, at least, like I said, that trios match was great. I mean, the more and more we see of AR Fox on television, the better.
Oh yeah, they made AR Fox look like $1 million.
He looked amazing in that match. I felt like this. If this doesn't tell you that Top Flight is moving on to have something bigger after this, I don't know what does, because they really had the match won after they hit the nosedive and AR Fox hit that 450. That was the end of the match if Kenny didn't come back in and break up the pin.
Right.
So no, I think like I said, I did want to see them win, even though it was predictable that they were going to win. But I feel like there are big things coming for Top Flight.
I agree. All of them people, just like you guys said, they make an AR Fox look like somebody, a big deal, which is what I always wanted, and I always kind of expected, because AR Fox is a tremendous talent. And so for him to be able to like really shine, like this is 100% AR Fox. He's being able to do his thing, and he's being able to do it in matches with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. Can't ask for anything better than that.
That's a huge stage to put those 3 guys on. Regardless,
that
if
match
they
was
lost
crazy.
And they had the matching camo pants with AR. I thought that was great as well. I really think that was probably one of the best matches this week.
And Kenny Omega, man, that guy looks just tremendous shape. He is back as fuck.
Agreed. Let's see. Aaron Busby says Cody versus Roman at WrestleMania is going to be the most dramatic match in WWE history. How many spears is Cody kicking out of? Vice versa with Roman. I mean, it is going to be drama and a half, and I'm looking forward to it.
I will say that when I saw, because I didn't watch Raw when it aired live, I watched it later. When I saw people putting up the clips of the Cody and Heyman segment, I was like, nah. They were looking around like, oh, y'all really wanted that Sammy match to main event? Oh, y'all got it fucked up. Let me show you what this feud is gonna be.
Cody knew exactly. He was like, nah, these people, they got me all the way fucked up. Let me show them who I am.
Yeah. They did that segment, and I feel like the story stuff they did in that segment was tremendous. I mean, not only was the behind the curtain stuff that they were doing really, really touching, that Cody started that segment with, but I felt like the way they brought it full circle and brought it back to the story of Cody being jealous of the NXT alum that
because he said that before, that he was jealous that they got to be held down by his dad.
And I feel like he said it in the interview right after WrestleMania, after the match with Rollins. So I feel like they've been building that storyline since he came back. I thought all this stuff was great. I mean, the guy couldn't have got more pyro on Monday night. The guy got like five different displays.
Bring all the pyro, bro. Shoot me some more.
So, and I mean, even watching SmackDown last night, I feel like this is good, because I feel like this is the first time ever that Roman has had like 2 challengers at the same time, and it feels like he's under duress. Like, you don't have to just build one challenger at the same time. You can build up a field of challengers for this guy. And so I thought this was good on the whole.
They need to pay Paul Heyman more money because he's not being paid enough.
Well, I mean, so, you know, the story, of course, came out, FightfulSelect.com, that Cody and Paul wrote the segment. And it did feel like two guys who were being a little more genuine, that weren't like spouting, you know.
And on Sunday, the 23rd, I'm going to tear Roman Reigns down. Like, we don't like that shit.
I hate to say this, but it felt like an AEW promo. It did.
It did.
Yeah, it did. I wasn't going to say that, but because I know what I'll get when I do.
And I'm not saying it in the sense that this good thing that WWE did, they copied from AEW, but it had that same vibe of, you know, doing the insider stuff.
Like Eddie Kingston and CM Punk promos.
It had the same vibe to it of certain stuff that Cody has done with AEW. And so that's why I'm not surprised that Cody was kind of behind it, because it had all of his fingerprints on it.
Yeah. Nah, so
I love Cody, man. He's amazing, man. He's going all in.
I mean, so like there were a number of things that this promo did excellently. I want to start with the fact that Cody comes out and he addresses because, you know, the big thing that's been the talk on Twitter, then I knew they'd find a way to handle it. But they're like, nah, Cody's going to get booed. They want Sami Zayn. They're going to turn on him for Sami because the crowd isn't getting Sami. Cody addressed that immediately, right? And, you know, the crowd was chanting Sami, and he's like, yeah, I want Sami to win too. I want it to be me versus Sami at WrestleMania. And crowd is like, okay, yeah, we can get with that. And so...
Cody's great, man.
He's amazing. He can put anything.
I know he turned that around in amazing ways. And then Paul Heyman comes out, and the way that the new Fightful Select story just dropped. FightfulSelect.com, as far as an act who's just re-signed with AEW. You'll find out who it is. Reg is going to be...
I'm sure fucking Russell Pierce is already sending it out.
But either way...
You said I'm not going to be happy?
I mean, it's something we've been talking about this whole show. So...
Oh, God.
So just know we're in for more. But anyway, so... on the side of Cody and Paul Heyman, of course, you know, they did a lot of talking about Dusty and talked about Dusty going to ECW because Paul had called him, and you know what that did for the family. Great stuff. There's a lot of people who say that those Dusty moments in ECW really like meant a lot to them, and was some people's introduction to Dusty. That's cool stuff. And then the way that they brought it all back around to WrestleMania was brilliant Paul Heyman shit.
So good, yeah.
And the way that Paul Heyman could even get himself some heat here.
Building the whole promo to that last line is just
that last line.
Come
because
on, man, that's amazing.
Because I have to say, there's a piece of me that is a little like worn on the Dusty stuff. That's like, okay, like I hope this isn't the entire feud. I hope
understand
we can.
when people are saying it's too much Dusty shit.
Yeah, like especially considering. Do you remember that promo that Cody cut in AEW where Chris Jericho? It was during the Chris Jericho and Cody feud, and Jericho had brought up Dusty, and Cody was like, "Yeah, of course you'd do that." He's like doing that Carney shit, and
I forgot you said that.
Yeah, he called it. He said he called it Carney shit, going for low hanging fruit, going after Dusty, and so like I always keep thinking of that.
Every single promo since he's came back to WWE has mentioned Dusty.
I know. So there's a piece of me that keeps playing that in the back of my mind of like, okay, I understand that it is a big part of Cody's story, and I really do hope that once we've gotten past like here, really, I want it to be about Cody. Because I think there's enough of a story to tell about just Cody's story himself. And Cody coming into the company in 2007, joining Legacy in 2009, being dashing Cody Rhodes, being undashing Cody Rhodes, growing the mustache, getting kicked off, being on the WrestleMania card at WrestleMania 29 10 years ago, and having his match cut while in Gorilla to becoming beating the Shield, becoming Stardust, leaving, helping start up his own company. It's stuff that he brought up with Paul Heyman, by the way, and talking about how Paul Heyman was instrumental in helping him understand how to, create a challenger brand, stuff like that, to coming back to the company, biggest WrestleMania moment, all of that stuff. Cody's story on its own. I didn't have to mention Dusty in any single thing I just mentioned. Cody has a strong enough story on its own to where you don't have to continue to go there. I'm hoping that, it was just one of those heat things, because otherwise this was a masterful segment. Cody and Paul Heyman, great shit. That ending line was, when Paul Heyman said, one of the last conversations I had with Dusty, he said that you were his favorite son. Straight face, and he's like, "But I wish I had a son like Roman Reigns." What was it? And Cody's response to that, where he shook his hand and said, "I was just trying to win a wrestling championship." Everybody wants to make this personal.
Paul mimicking that this week on SmackDown was great as well. I'm just trying to win a WWE championship, and everybody's making it personal. Paul is stupid.
Paul's great, but no, honestly, Cody's the guy. He has to beat Roman Reigns.
Isn't it amazing that they're talking about Cody and Dusty on both shows?
Yeah,
I know, right?
Yeah, but I think the Dusty stuff works here for two reasons. Because, he's made his mission statement to do what Dusty never did and win the WWE Championship. But at the same time, when you're looking at what NXT was at some point, Dusty's fingerprints were all over NXT. Yep. And arguably the most successful NXT alumni is Roman Reigns. So it makes perfect sense.
Not even arguably, it's like he is the one.
Yeah. So, it makes total sense for them to mention Dusty as much in this. And I didn't even remember this, but people have been posting that clip of Roman's interview where he talked about how much much Dustin meant to him. And it makes sense. I think it's all really good storytelling. And I think the way that they've had these two things happening parallel, like even Sammy this week saying, like, tell Roman he doesn't have to worry about Cody because I'm going to be the one that beats him at Elimination Chamber. I just think it's fine. I think people being like, it can only be one are just like, no, it's fine. Build two storylines at the same time.
Yes.
Build 10. Shit.
I'm in on Cody versus Roman. I'm ready for WrestleMania. Like I said, I think this was a masterful promo segment. And it is amazing how much interest there really is in all of this. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the first Cody and Roman Reigns confrontation. That is something that, I can't believe I'm already this into it. And these two have not confronted at all yet.
Not yet. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to after. We're kind of writing what it's gonna be, but Cody becoming the actual champion, and he's already like this as not the face of the brand. Imagine when he's gonna be when he's the face of the brand. He's about to be going crazy.
A thousand promos at Pyro's going off at the same time every week. Pyro City.
Look, I'm already picturing the end of WrestleMania, Cody holding up both titles, Pyro everywhere.
Oh my God, that stadium's gonna look like the 4th of July. It's gonna be nuts out there.
Pyro.
I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, I think they have found the right guy to beat Roman Reigns. I think it is Cody Rhodes.
I think it's Cody too. And again, that's not to knock the Sammy stuff, because the Sammy stuff has been really good as well. Yeah. I think everything they did with Sammy and Paul this week was a great opener for SmackDown. The way they handled the Jay stuff was really good. Oh, you guys didn't watch it, but just a small note of them keeping it all the way to the beginning of the tag match. And Jay showed up, and where did he show up? He showed up at the top of the stairs like Roman as a member of the Shield. Great stuff. And then the exchange backstage with Sammy, where Sammy was like, I just want you to know I acknowledge you. So good, man.
Ooh, got chills. That was good shit. No, it's good. And I'm ready. I'm ready for WrestleMania. I'm ready for the main event. But Elimination Chamber coming up. I think that's going to be a really, really hot crowd. And I think that...
sold out in fucking Montreal.
Yeah, look, the pop that Sammy got last night, the pop he's going to get in Montreal is going to be incredible.
It's going to be nuts.
So, yeah, very much.
I hope
looking
he's
forward to it.
right and he does just get to use like Worlds Collide as a theme. He says he needs a new theme, like, and I can agree with that. I can agree that he said using his old theme would be turning backwards, and that he was
get the
like,
Sky music back out, bro.
I want it. We want it.
No. Turn up the Sky music, bro.
But no way, because they're phasing all those themes out. So they
So because the current theme is trash. Like no matter
awful.
what, you have to not use the current theme. That's the only thing. But I can see where he says where he can feel like that's a different phase of my career, and I'm moving forward. So
yeah, if anything, give him a new theme, but this
Although-
current theme is awful.
Although speaking of themes, because there was always a conversation about Swerve theme songs and how he wasn't going to ever go back to Ain't Nobody, but he did use it on the cruise, and it got and that popped a lot of people on the that did pop people on the Jericho cruise.
Should we? Speaking of Swerve,
No, I don't want to talk about that at all.
No, we should
No,
not.
and the chat knows what we're talking about.
No, we shan't.
we're just gonna move forward.
There's
No,
nothing
we
to
can't.
talk about there. There just
say it
isn't.
out loud so they can be like, well, wait.
Nah. So what do you guys want to talk about? Nah, we're not doing that.
No.
Man, I feel like this is an exciting time to be a WWE fan because I do feel like
Honestly.
they're building really good things for WrestleMania. I feel like
do you guys think they're gonna, from this point on, continue with Roman on both nights at
No.
Mania, or you think they're just gonna do that?
I don't think they're gonna do it.
he's gonna do one night. I
Right.
think that was on the table if they were getting Rock.
If
but,
The Rock was gonna be here.
But now that they're not getting Rock. Which, speaking of, I don't know if you saw their report, guys, of they were thinking about just creating a new title if they had Rock, which feeds my thought that I've been thinking for a while that they want two titles. It's very clear they want two titles.
Yeah, so I think more than anything, I think the idea was always going to be, look, Cody has to walk out of WrestleMania with the
strap.
Yes, with the strap. There's no way, DeAndre, you called that reparations, by the way.
What?
Oh, the Swerve thing. Because
Oh no, you can't say that. You can't. We're supposed to be moving forward. You can't.
I know, I could not ignore.
Reparations.
Oh, shit.
No, the
I'm
homie
sorry,
that
I'm
said,
sorry.
why is he a scrub? Because he scrubbed you from his life.
No comment.
These people come up with this,
no comment.
man.
All right.
Okay, we're moving
Anyway,
forward.
the two titles thing. Like, it's clear they, no matter what, we're going to have. Like, what that confirmed to me when I saw that story was that they never had any plans of splitting the titles. Like, everybody was like, well, maybe they could have Roman, like, have a triple threat and not get pinned for one, or like, somebody cashes in Money in the Bank, but they only cash in for one title. All those ideas were awful, guys, because at the end of the day, you cannot have this 800 plus day reign end or have him get pinned for a title and still be a champion. All of that sucks. There is no ending to that is good except for he gets beaten and he's not champion anymore. Because even when people were like, well, maybe Cody could just challenge for the WWE title. No, you can't do that because, like, hey, we've got this 800-day champion, but I just want the title he's had for 300. Like, no, you want to go for it all. That's how this works. That's how you have to.
I don't know. I just don't think there's a satisfying way to split those titles at this point. I think they waited too long, and I think it doesn't matter how they split the titles now. People are gonna have complaints about it because it just lasted way too long. I think they should split the titles a long time ago.
Well, people
and so
are,
that
there's
idea-
going to be a segment of fans that are with the Sami Zayn thing, and they're not going to like the Cody shit ever. So they're just going to use this as catalyst to never like whatever happens from here on out. So
But yeah, Meltzer reporting that the idea was going to be if The Rock was available, the plan was to introduce a new title and have Cody win that at WrestleMania, and then Roman just like keeps his.
Ooh, that would have been dumb.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying, man. It just makes no sense to put two titles on a guy that you don't want to lose. You were always setting yourself up to have this problem.
Luckily, The Rock didn't show up because this is way better.
But I mean,
Cody
if this was confirmation for me that I've been saying this was a bad idea, it was that came out, and then the Drew McIntyre quote came out where he was like, "Yeah, I think it's time." I was like, "Yeah, I know you and probably a bunch of other people in that locker room feel the same way because you want to wrestle for a world title and you can't because they've got both tied up with this Roman stuff."
Yeah. So either way, I mean, I think because I see Irene asked, what would the title even be called? I think knowing Cody, he would have hauled out the big gold belt.
Big gold belt. Hey, big gold belt.
as like a homage to Dusty kind of thing. And something along those lines. But as far as this here is concerned, I think we've got the best option. Look, Roman has both titles. He has everything. So his loss has to be for everything. And I feel the same way with the Usos. I think that, they're having these title defenses for like one belt here, one belt there. And I think that's just to make sure it's established that there still are 2 tag team titles. But ultimately,
because they have to split those two.
Yeah, they have to lose both because the reign is, because they have the record-setting reign. You can't just have them like lose one and then be like, well, they're still record-setting tag champs because they still have the other belts. Like, that sucks. Don't do that. And
I'm not looking forward to the team or the champion that inherits those 2 belts because now you've got to book a way out of that. And that was my issue.
Dumb again.
From the beginning. It's like now you're putting Cody in a spot where you have to figure out a way to get one of those titles off of him. You instantly put him in a spot where he needs to lose. And it doesn't make sense.
You either got to combine them and make a new championship or do a stupid thing where he's like, well, I don't want this one. I just want this one.
I really hope he doesn't do that, man. I just have bad flashbacks to the Keith Lee thing.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking of. I don't really want this, and I'm just going to keep this one.
I think as far as the tag team titles are concerned, there's probably multiple scenarios where you can have the Kevin and Sammy lose one belt and be fine, because them walking out of a situation where like they're defending the Raw tag titles, for example, and then like get pinned on Raw, but they're still SmackDown champions. That's not so bad because they don't have a record-setting reign. There's not a big target on them where you have to go after everything. That's not a part of their story. So that wouldn't matter so much, them defending the titles one by one. But I think when you've got this whole thing with the bloodline has it all, I don't know. Let's see. Let's read a few more because Andrew the Giant says, nearly forgot to get in my Mad Cat Moss victory lap after the big man got his W last night. Love you guys.
Nasty.
Hey man. I think Moss is a good wrestler. So I'm looking forward to what he's gonna do against Gunther.
Gunther's gonna chop his fucking ponytail off.
He's gonna chop his soul out of his body.
Let's see. We've got. What else is there? I mean, we got a whole lot of more. Let me turn to the Humper Chats. I've ignored the Humper Chats for a minute, and I want to make sure I get to these. It says, what do you guys think the final card matches will be at Revolution? They keep saying Jungle Boy is chasing gold. Do you see them having a title match at Revolution, or do you think and it got cut off there, hold on. Or do you think they just keep building him with singles wins till a title program with Max? I can at least see him in the face of the Revolution ladder match. I think that's probably what they're going for with that.
Yeah, if it's not that, I could see him challenging for the All-Atlantic belt.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, true.
Oh, that too. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Let's see. Coffee Black says, for Grapsody, shout out to the fellas. I was so happy to see a man like, what is that, Darius?
Darius, I think
Darius?
is how he pronounces it. Yeah.
Darius, that makes sense. That's just not a way that I would have spelled Darius. But that's a cool way to spell it, actually. Get booked for the culture. Hopefully they announce some more UK talent for the show. I got to get more familiar with UK talent, especially Black UK talent.
He's a tremendous talent. He's going to impress a lot of people. I'm pretty sure they're going to announce Leon Slater for the show, young Black UK.
That's on. So For the Culture is on Thursday?
For the Culture is on Thursday at midnight, the same day as Wale Mania, screwing up all of our lives. Thanks, you guys. Thanks, Emilio and them.
So
I'm excited about For the Culture. They announced For the Culture. If you don't have For the Culture tickets, definitely get For the Culture. Not For the Culture, sorry. Wale Mania tickets. They've announced Wale Mania. If you haven't got Wale Mania tickets, get some Wale Mania tickets.
Yeah, and get For the Culture tickets.
And also get For the Culture tickets too. I'm gonna be
shout out to homie Billy Dixon who is booking it this year.
I'm excited.
yeah, I'm gonna ask my brother if I can just borrow his car in LA.
Probably makes more sense, huh?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is the thing: is this is actually going to be kind of a. That's the thing I love about my LA trips is that I'm from LA, and so I don't have to just like go and be like I'm not getting a hotel. I'm crashing on my brother's couch. This is actually he's got a guest room, so it's nice, but not crashing on a couch. But no, it's always cool to get to see my brother and get to do all of that stuff. So that's.
I'd definitely like to meet your brother while we're out there if that could be arranged. I think.
I think we could probably pull that off. I mean, it depends on how busy he is, but
right. I mean, the man do be working out there.
Yes, he does. Let's see. So I got Pieces says, Phil, have you had a chance to see Julia versus Suzu from Supreme Fight yet? I thought they killed it and have such a great story between them.
I haven't seen it yet, but that's on the list of a bunch of wrestling to watch because there's always a ton of wrestling. Which, speaking of Stardom, shout out to Hamika, who is retiring out of nowhere.
Oh, that's right.
She's amazing, and I don't know, man. Every time somebody from Stardom retires this early, it just throws me off. I still haven't gotten over several people that retired from this company. So yeah, shout out to her.
Some wrestlers set that goal. I've been seeing that a lot recently with the younger generation of like. She said, like, I'm going to do 5 years in here, and then I'm out pretty much. And there's a lot of wrestlers that are kind of like that. Like, I'm going to do 5 years, and if I don't have this or whatever, I'm going to be out, and I'm out. So, yeah, I mean, good for them.
Yeah, and I'm always for people leaving on their own terms and not having to leave because of, injuries or something else. So, if this is just was always her plan, then I think that's great.
Right.
Anwar Starwind says, how are y'all feeling about the NBA after all of the trades?
It's nuts.
Excited. I'm excited for more basketball.
Yeah, basketball is the greatest sport. And
this makes it even more fun because, like, first of all, the jokes are amazing when all these trades and shit are happening. So on top of that, and then like the season's about to be, this first half of the season was crazy. Like a lot of teams were balling out and like, for them to all be changed, and now we're going to be moving forward like this. It's going to be exciting.
I mean, I can't believe the run the Nets went on to get where they were in the Eastern Conference to just blow up the team.
and just imploded. Yeah, I think all the storylines coming out of this are going to be good, too, if you're into that. I don't know.
Definitely into that. We love them storylines, baby.
And really, the Nets are not in a bad spot.
I prefer games to storylines, Rich.
Leave me alone.
I just want to watch games. I don't need storylines.
I don't need no stories. More games. They don't need a story behind the games. I just want to see the Mavericks and the Bucks go at it.
Of course, you want to see the Bucks.
But yeah, no. Look, I think it's an exciting time to be a basketball fan. I don't know,
even
man.
if your team sucks.
I think the Nets are actually in a good spot after those trades too. I think they can make some moves and still be competitive. They got a lot of good young players. I really like Mikal Bridges. Dude, Cam Thomas has been going nuts ever since Kyrie's been gone. He's like, no, I'm the captain now. This man had like 3 40-point games in a row. And unfortunately, said a slur on TV.
Yeah.
But no, he's been cooking.
We got some great games today, by the way. Because the Sixers are playing the Nets in 2 hours. We got the Nuggets and the Hornets. The Lakers are playing the Warriors. Mavs and the
Bron
Kings.
Playing? Because he didn't play Saturday.
He didn't play. Yesterday.
And I knew he wasn't going to play Saturday, by the way.
So funny.
As a matter of fact, we even got this Humper chat. It says, "What would you guys do to fix NXT?" And Bulls versus Cavs. I'm a Cavs fan tonight. What up, Phil?
Bulls are probably going to lose that game because they suck. What would I do to fix NXT? I think you got to find a happy balance between what it is now and what it was. And I don't think they found that yet. And I've seen a lot of people say that it hasn't changed that much, but it has. Because I feel like
it's very different.
It's totally different.
I feel like the matches are are still good of the matches I've seen, but the backstage segments are just not good in my opinion. And I just think a lot of the character stuff that people seem to be into is just not my cup of tea either. Because it just feels too on the nose. It's like I've said before, it just feels like, hey, what are you guys into? Oh, I'm into streamers. Let's make a wrestler that's a streamer. And it's like, no, I don't want that. It just
Box of gimmicks.
Yeah, it's just not my cup of tea. I just feel like you got to find a happy in between. That works.
Let's see. We got Will, Phil, and Reg. This one's from Dom Ramondo. It says, Will, Phil, and Reg, thanks for what you do. I love how that's the order it has to be said now because that's how Reg says it in the theme song. As a black dude who has loved pro wrestling his whole life, y'all do a great service.
Appreciate you.
Says, Reg is spot on about the ass boys.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
I don't.
That you said right there about being a black guy in wrestling and what you love us. That's why we do this show. Like, I wanted to start doing the show because I wanted to have a different space for us to be in, different fucking representation for us. So appreciate that. That's really dope.
Absolutely. We definitely want to do something different that we don't see out there. But
I still don't see anybody doing it like us. I just want to put that out there.
I can't comment on that.
Night Tracks asks, do you think the trios belts are unnecessary? No, I think that it's something fans were asking for a long time.
Yeah. I don't think that's what it is. I think the matches have been great. And I think when whoever's next, because like now they're just building it. And then eventually it's going to be like the younger generation is going to take it over. So it's going to do its due.
MJ Johnson says, it was funny to me that when the Guns won, I was on Twitter to see all the people I know hate the Guns, but also F the Guns, damn it.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, you're not supposed to like the Guns winning. And like I said, I don't like it as for the Guns as characters, but I get it. I get why they're doing it.
Right.
Demolition Worm says, Revolution does need a piss break. Thanks, Guns.
Guns getting all the hate.
The piss break is... Ding, 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 ding. That's the piss break.
I mean, if you're in that arena, and the three of us will be, by the way, all three are going to be there. So,
Revolution, baby.
Revolution.
Shilling it up.
Marcus Thomas says SRS versus Disco and Power Slap. So, what percentage keep 100? I mean,
what?
I don't know.
What's that?
Sean, just because I want to see it. But anyway, the. Big Hero Chris says, so y'all saying Suplex City is is in a sundown town.
Yo. Can't confirm.
Yeah, right.
Can't
You said
confirm.
it, not me.
Derek Gordon says Cowboy Brock is Pat McAfee to me. Don't care. Look,
I
can see that though, in the sense that look, it's a guy that a lot of people like, and I don't get it, but I respect that y'all love it.
Nah, I think Pat McAfee is way more corny. Honestly, like I just feel like he tries way too hard. I don't. It ain't for me.
I don't know if he's returning to WWE TV full time. It sounds like I know he's going to be at Mania, but it sounds like they may just be using him for like big events now. Night Track says lifted pickup with an with the school size American flag.
Honestly, yeah.
Yep.
My worst nightmare. Bakersfield, I see him all the time. Got to stay out of there. It's very scary.
Let's see. Aaron says, Black History. Did you know Japan had a black shogun?
We could do that.
Speaking of Black History, introducing a segment here on the show celebrating, excuse me, can't talk today, celebrating Black History Month here on Grapsody. The three of us, for the remainder of Black History Month, are going to pick our top moments in Black history. We're starting with Righteous Reg.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a little bit of time now. And I have a couple of moments that I wanted to do, not the obvious moments like, yeah, Kofi's great, Ron Simmons winning, all these moments that we see on a daily basis on our Twitter being like, remember this amazing moment? I want to take it to the early 90s because there wasn't a lot of representation for us. Like now I watch wrestling and I'm like, yeah, like there's lists, there's all this, like black wrestlers are out here, a lot of great people. But in the early 90s, 90 to 95, there wasn't a lot of representation for us. So like in the early 90s in WCW, 1992, we do know about the Ron Simmons thing, but I mean, who, in my opinion, the greatest black professional wrestler of all time is Too Cold Scorpio, because of so many things. We could talk about the in-ring things, we could talk about the flips, we could talk about the 450 splash, we could talk about everything that he represented. But one video that he made that inspired a whole generation in WCW, Too Cold Scorpio music video on a basketball court. There's little kids there. It's just like when there's no representation for you, and then there's some representation that's really represents how you feel and look, and people that look like you and everything about it. This segment did all of that. He's dancing in it. He's always dancing. But it's just like seeing that as a young black man when all the wrestlers don't look like me was like, it just changed my life, man. And on top of that, beyond that video, when he got into the ring and then he starts doing his thing, like super kicks and moonsaults and tumbleweeds landing on guys' heads and all that. Yeah,
Yo,
exactly.
A legend, bro.
That fit is cold too. Yeah,
a legend.
Just seeing that was like, for a young kid that likes this profession, that there's not a lot of us, really changed my life. And on the other side of that, in WWF, there wasn't anything that we could really sink our teeth into early in the 90s. Was there like Virgil, maybe, like if you're into something like that? I know what the perception of this guy is now, but in 1995, when Ahmed Johnson debuted and he became one of the top guys in the WWF, and he's alongside Shawn Michaels, and he's doing the thing with Goldust and all this, and he became one of the top guys. His finish was one of the most over finishes in the entire business. When he hit the Pearl River Plunge, when he put D'Lo through the table, when he hit D'Lo with it on the car, this was like, the game had changed. Ahmed Johnson came in when there was nothing for us up there, and they really made him into a contender. Like, he became the Intercontinental Champion. Like I said, he was on side of the top guy, Shawn Michaels. And when he eventually got into the feud with the Nation of Domination, Ron Simmons, the promos that Ron Simmons did for Ahmed Johnson, talk about eating collard greens with his hands and all this. Amazing, man.
Completely got Ahmed up out of here, bro.
I'm saying so quickly, but you know, it was great to see representation like that, because like I said, there wasn't a lot. So for Ahmed Johnson to come in and not be a jobber and get the opportunities to main event shows and get the opportunities to be one of the top guys, that really did a lot for me as a young guy, man. No lie. His perception now is awful, and if you look up stories on him, you'll probably be like, ugh, but back then, 95, 96, 97, it was lit.
I thought Ahmed Johnson was the guy, man. Like, it's so funny too.
Getting wedgies in all his matches, like you had to see like his full ass sometimes, and that was just a little too much.
Yeah, but that man coming to the ring making his pecs dance. His thing, commentary, they're like, "What is wrong with that man's chest? Why won't it sit still?" I mean, they did him dirty though, joining the Nation of Domination, and then
he got injured really. He kept getting injured when he was supposed to be in big moments, like Ron Simmons like punted his fucking side. He was having all kind of stuff, so he got stifled by a lot of those. But you know, the moments that he was in there were amazing. I loved it.
Yeah.
Nah, Too Cold Scorpio for sure is a legend, man.
Scorpio, we're gonna see him.
He let you guys know in Dark Side of the Ring he's about that action.
Exactly. Yes. Do not pull up. You will get these hands. Black history, baby.
Black history. It's great stuff. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, you'll hear from each of us talking about our favorites as the weeks go on. We got a few more super chats to read. Let's see. I think I read that one already. Paul Martinez says, drove from Las Cruces to EP show. Heard from crew that talent definitely wanted to return. And respect and love to the three of you. Favorite weekend show. I mean, look, it was...
Appreciate you.
El Paso was something. You guys all turned out and were loud as hell. I think the thing that like really surprised me more than anything was that building is so small.
Mhm.
But you know what though? Like they have a way of shooting these arenas that just looks.
You wouldn't know. Like you wouldn't know it.
No, it
Yeah.
looked great.
Mhm.
So either way, it was a great night. I don't know how Laredo is going to turn out for AEW this week, but it'll be interesting to see. Review King MB says, "I know talking bad about Bray is fun, but when are we going to admit this Swerve group ain't it? They haven't done anything to admit that it ain't it. That's to me. I feel like." For me, I was willing to give everything Bray a chance until the matches actually happened. And that was where I was like, okay, this is exactly what I thought it was going to be. I mean, I thought the beatdown on Dustin was actually pretty good last night. I thought
I thought the segment was good.
Yeah, I thought the Happy Black History Month was a very good ending line.
So
I don't know. Right now, like, I don't know what you're expecting the group to be. It's muscle for him. I'm not really seeing this as a faction as
They're
much as
not
I'm
going
seeing.
to go for the trios championships. Like that's not where this is leading.
I'm seeing this as just Swerve and his muscle guys. And that's.
I do think it's great that a year or so ago, we not only had people saying that there wasn't much representation for Black people at shows and on television, but the crowd didn't represent us. And I think that has changed a lot from seeing this week that sign in the crowd that said Africa is not a country. And then, like I said, the clock, I was like, this crowd is starting to look more and more where you can see the Black people in the crowds. You can see our representation in the fandom. And I think that's great. And, you know, that closing line of that segment did definitely make me think about that again.
It's amazing. At the last AEW show I went to, I sat with two Black dudes, and like that doesn't, you know what I mean? Like that sounds normal, but that's like a new concept if you've been going to wrestling shows for 25 years. You know?
Yeah, I do think that more Black people are getting into AEW, and I think that's a good thing. You're seeing more Black fandom there. I always kind of thought it was wild that some people were saying that the fandom wasn't there at all, but like I said, you can definitely see more of the presence at the shows.
It's good. I think the more diverse crowds become, the better. And I think it's just a matter of seeing representation. And like the idea that like right now, I feel like the representation is kind of there across the board. I am not feeling like I'm necessarily feeling a lack of a Black male presence. And I say that because I do think that there's still some work to be done as far as Black women are concerned. And
even
on
Jade
TV.
was saying something about that this week too, right? That she wants to get bigger. She wants to be in like programs with Britt Baker and like have bigger things going on. So
and I meant that across the board, by the way, because I think that like, look, I just
WWE, it's awful over there.
Yeah, because I was saying in AEW, you know, I literally last week just saw Jade Cargill go one-on-one with Red Velvet for a title on TV on Dynamite in prime time. So like great stuff happening there. And I think that, but it is interesting that, you know, I think everybody, it felt fairly comfortable with Sasha and Naomi around, but as soon as they were gone, I didn't realize how much of the Black female presence that they brought, because all of a sudden it feels like it's kind of just like Bianca. Like
we got Bianca, we're good.
Now we got Michin back, and we've got, and then BFAB doesn't really like wrestle that much.
Right.
So it really does feel kind of slim.
Yeah.
And Naomi's taking bookings now in as far as autograph signings and things like that. She's got some Comic-Con stuff coming up here. So I don't know what the deal with her is. I would have said before the Rumble confidently, yeah, she's probably going to be back.
I was pretty confident that she was going to return in the Rumble until she started tweeting that day. But it seems
her
like
tweets.
it seems like she's happy. Like I said, that photo shoot she did last week was amazing. I hope she keeps thriving outside of wrestling.
Totally.
Yeah. Let's see. Aaron Busby says, Ahmed Johnson was my first favorite wrestler as a kid. His Warzone promos are legendary.
Man.
I wanted to talk about the Warzone promos.
Juice Make Sugar fucks me all the way up, man. Yes.
I mean, so those promos, like were they recorded in just like a hallway with no microphone? Like they sound like there's no mic. Like they just recorded them off like the camera. In '97, these are awful. I would have just scrapped those all together because, like, I had the game on the Nintendo 64, so I never saw these videos because, you know, full motion video on Nintendo 64 wasn't. It was difficult. Like, a couple of games did it, but for the most part, it wasn't all that possible. But on the PlayStation, it had it, and I didn't discover those till like the YouTube era, where people started sharing. They're like, "You got to watch these Warzone promos; they're so bad," and they're mostly bad for a thing I talked about on Day After Dynamite this week about how all of that stuff was recorded in the summer of '97, but that game didn't come out till the spring of '98, and WWF went through literally an entire era change. The Attitude Era launched in that time period, so you have all these promos being cut that do not fit the context of WWF at that time period. I think the funniest ones are the Triple H ones where he's talking about being the blue blood and having the right pedigree, but the DX music is playing behind him. It's like, this isn't even the right character for any of this. And it's great stuff. I love that time period. Same with Sean. Sean's like trying to like babyface it up, but the music behind him is DX. And he's like not that character at all. Van Twinblade, Black Wall Street. Let's see. It's that's it as far as the chats are concerned.
Oh, look at us.
Yeah, I know. We got them all. I want to make sure I got the humpers as well. It's refreshing on me.
The humpers.
The humpers. Yeah, so I don't know. It's been a good week. Been a good week wrestling.
Did we get into the Max shit? We got a little bit into the Max shit, right? About the
we
people
did.
calling the cops and shit. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very wild promo.
You know what I didn't want to... Oh, go ahead.
I didn't know where he was going at first. But when he got to the end of it, I was just like, okay, Max, listen, I've said before that the entire purpose of this run is to let you know that Max is a terrible person.
Yes.
And people that were still trying to not see that was the point of this, to get his heat back. That's clearly what he's doing. Now, do I know if it's successful yet? I don't know. But I think by the end of the Bryan program, we're going to be closer to where he wants to be.
You know what I did find interesting this week? All right, a couple more topics we could talk about since we still got time. Did you guys listen to the Tony Khan on the Mark Maron podcast?
No, I didn't get to hear it. Yeah.
I listened to it this morning. Some interesting stuff in there. But one of the things he said, and he just kind of said it so casually, he was just kind of talking about it in passing. But I've been stuck on this line all morning. He was talking about all of the things that happened in 2022. But when he got on the topic of CM Punk, he only described it as CM Punk got injured. And he didn't, and he talked about it as an injury because he said, he was like, we came out of Double or Nothing. And he was like, Max said all his stuff and he left. And then CM Punk got injured. And then Adam Cole came back, but then Adam Cole got injured. And then CM Punk came back, and he was there for a little while, but then CM Punk got injured. And then he just kept going on. But he didn't say, CM Punk got suspended. He didn't say CM Punk anything. He just said CM Punk came back, and then he got injured. And I thought that was interesting because, so from the official company standpoint, as far as Tony Khan is concerned, he's simply addressing CM Punk as being injured.
Right.
And I thought that's an interesting way to be talking about him now. He didn't say CM Punk left. He said CM Punk is injured. So, again, begging the question of... I think that's been the case all along because, with all the stories going around that before last fall, it was, is CM Punk, going to be released from the company? Are they going to do a contract buyout? And I said at the time, I said back in September, watch this very podcast, where I said, the good news is he's hurt. They don't have to do anything right now. And so there's nothing that has to be done at this moment.
And time heals all those little wounds, baby. So by the time he's done being, CM Punk is coming back. It's official on the line. There's no way that he's going to the other show. So they're going to wait till his leg is good and they're going to bring him back.
It was his
because
arm.
What's the worst that's going to happen? Oh, but wait till his arm. What's the worst going to happen? Chris Jericho's going to be mad about it. Who gives a fuck about that?
So I will say this. I've been watching this guy become topic of conversation more and more because before it wasn't what you're saying that he was saying he's injured. He would just no comment anytime somebody said anything about Punk. He would comment at all, and so that is interesting that he just said he's hurt. But I've just been watching. Again, he's more present online again on IG. He got brought up in that Meltzer report when Meltzer was talking about it on Zerber, and he was saying that he'll be available in a few months. We don't know if they're going to use him, but he'll be available. And I thought that was interesting. But also, I just keep watching how Rollins is bringing this guy up, and I'm just like, it's just interesting, man. I'm just watching.
I could have sworn that Rollins was trying to build to a match with Logan Paul and not with CM Punk, but it really looks like he's trying to build a match with CM Punk.
And I'm not saying that means he's going there. Just for clarification, I don't think this means Punk is going to WWE. But I do think it was interesting how mad people got at Rollins last week when he was saying he was a cancer. But then this week he was like, well, he's done so much for my career, so it pains me to say this. I'm like, yo, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing, Seth, man. I see what you're doing, and that's why I was never mad at it in the first place. Because I'm just like, no, of course he's going to say that. Because he works there. He's not going to say he wants him there. But, yeah, he continues to appear in the news cycle even after all this time. The guy hasn't been on TV since September, and he continued to be a big part of the news cycle. And I don't know. I'll ask you guys this because I don't think I can answer the question because people will come with the pro-Punk allegations. Do you think that the programming right now is missing CM Punk?
Yes.
Like they people talk about numbers and ratings and all this shit. Like beyond that, like he just was a very inaugural part of this show. Like there was a different energy when he was around, and they have destroyed it for like 8 weeks straight in Dynamite. Like I'm not saying that the show's bad at all, but he would make it better, honestly.
I think there was something Punk brought to the show. I think
some kind of energy. I don't know exactly
there was an
what
energy.
it was. Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? I went to multiple shows last year and the year before where I got to sing Cult of Personality. There was something that entrance just brought to the show.
Yep.
And
even like 90% of his promos were like something like it was a topic going off of like everything that he did was good for the company. So I think he should.
And not everything.
And I think he should. Well, not everything. Can't win them all.
Yeah, and now I'm not asking that to say, do you think that AEW has been bad without him? Because I don't think any of us think that AEW has not been good since he's left. But I do think that it's missing something without him, and I do think it's that he just brought something to the show. And I mean, it's just because not only is he buzzworthy in a positive way, and even in a negative way, when people hate to talk about him, he's just buzzworthy. He just brings interest to the show, man. Because I remember when people were saying when he returned, did it really work for the Mox program? And I was like, no. I remember the numbers that week and that what those segments were doing on the YouTube. What I saw people that podcast and do what we were doing, what their numbers were doing when he came back. No, this guy's buzzworthy every time he shows up.
He got us a couple of good numbers on the show.
Are you kidding me? I don't think this show would exist without the first dance. I think that, look, talking about the RBR feed and pulling back the curtain on that show a little bit. I did that show 16 years, right? The biggest downloads that show ever did was the episode of Wrestling with Weekends with me and Phil, with just us two talking about the return of CM Punk. I did, like I said, years of shows. I covered everything on RBR. We talked about the death of Benoit. Death of Eddie Guerrero was something we covered. We talked about every major story. Brock's return, The Rock's return, you name it. Every major story in pro wrestling, I got to cover on RBR. The biggest podcast downloads I ever did was covering the first dance.
That episode is like kind of the origin of this podcast.
It is. It's so like that's to me. There's no question. I think that But thank you, Mike Harmeyer, when Hulk Hogan drowned. That's an RBR.
What?
It's an it's an RBR reference. Nobody, you have to.
Hogan drowned. I'm like, I think I missed that story.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Mike, honestly, I have all the props in the world to Mike Harmeyer. That man had been listening to RBR since, like, if not day one, very close to day one. I know Mike's name going back to 2005. And so shout out to Mike Harmeyer for sticking with all the stuff I've done all this time. I really appreciate you, Mike. I've met Mike a few times at various events. It's always been great stuff. Yeah, as he said, two inside. He said two inside. Sorry.
That's amazing.
So I do appreciate that. But and yeah, somebody else noted that that's crazy. But that, look, those are the facts on the stats. And so as far as CM Punk is concerned, there is something he brings to the table. And yeah, I do think that it's missing him. And oh yeah, Mike says, so he said, my first episode was the episode where the fan turned around when Triple H won during the WrestleMania 22 tournament. Okay, so that would have been like February, March of 2006. So you were there pretty early on. I appreciate that.
A long time.
That's a long time for a show I did till 2021.
Yeah, I just asked because I've seen more of this sentiment out in the wild. And again, I can't be the one to say it because I am super pro Chicago, super pro CM Punk guy. So I just wonder, what is your opinion? I seen the guy O'Shea Jackson Jr. say, "Man, y'all don't miss Punk yet," and I was just like,
I think everybody missed Punk off rip. I don't think there was ever a time where
I mean, there's some people that don't miss him, and there's some people that don't want him back.
Well, like if people were dropping the whole like Hangman gif, they're like, "Yeah, look at this guy. He botches. He's not. We didn't need him." Yeah, that was being dropped a lot.
That's true.
Wait, did Seth really say Chicago Phil? Is that like now, like in public consciousness?
I love it. Chicago Phil, baby.
Derek Gordon says, also love the Hangman stuff from Rampage. Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah. I actually like the entire idea of one of the best signings AEW has made, I truly feel, is Renee Paquette.
Yeah.
I agree. She is bringing something very cool to the table. I think her backstage segments are very well done. And I think that I like what she adds to Moxley's stories without doing it in kind of a Miz way. Like, remember when Miz came at her as Renee Young and then like she ended up slapping him and it and all that. I like that she has to remain this kind of like unbiased journalist, but at the same time, she has a direct tie to top guy in the company.
Mox
very
is,
hard.
Hangman's like, you again, dude? Why are you doing this interview again? Do you like seeing me being mad at your husband?
Yeah. I think Renee has been really, really good. I think she's been one of the best additions to the company.
And all of her things, like I'm sure the Adam Cole thing's going to be amazing. Like every situation they kind of put her in. The backstage stuff has been great. Like she's
the stuff she does with Saraya, I think is good too. I think the stuff she's done with Britt, where Britt is kind of like, nah, I don't want to see you. Where's Tony at? Right. No, you're not an unbiased party, but let me go get my unbiased party over here and Tony.
Yes. Let's see. Irene says, great feuds versus MJF, the Elite, Mox, Hangman, and Eddie are all available if Punk returns. All great matches and promo sitting right there. There's a lot they left on the table. They left a lot on the table right now. And so
I want to see the man wrestle again. If I look, if it's here, if it's somewhere else, I just want to see the guy wrestle again.
So yeah, I want to see him back. Ultimately, I do want to see him back. Last question. I don't want to bring this up, but I feel like I have to. And I'm sorry, real sorry.
What is
just?
Oh god.
Blood in pro wrestling.
Oh God.
So
are you sure?
It was a big topic of discussion on social media yesterday. And I got this DM from a top guy in pro wrestling. That was one of the, and when I say pro wrestling, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase this. This came from a top guy in WWE on the topic of blood.
Wow.
And I wanted to read this on the show.
Number one on the industry list. Good guy.
Well, it was after I had tweeted. I said, "You notice no wrestlers are weighing in on this." Everybody's like, "Well, what about Ric Flair? He weighed on this." And I said, as far as like, what I meant by that was, do you notice how on the side of blood should be gone from pro wrestling, nobody weighs in on that, and the reason that I said that was because I got this quote. Let me go into the DMs. It says. It says, because if Triple H said tomorrow that we could bleed again, everyone on the roster would be at CVS picking out their favorite razor brand.
Yo, are you talking to Cody?
That's exactly what it sounds like. Cody's again like, y'all got me fucked up. I'd be red every day if I had the chance.
I'm telling you, I'm waiting for how he tries to bleed at WrestleMania. My bet is that he's absolutely going to bleed.
I'm thinking he's already started the campaign right now to be
Yes,
like, hey, you
I
guys
know
know
that he
when
is.
that match happens that I got to do my thing. Oh my God, Will, that's hilarious.
Yeah, so I just told you guys who it was.
Shit, that's
Great
amazing.
stuff.
Right. But so that's and where that came from, like, it was just really interesting, right? Because the point that was being made there, and then there was a follow up on that said that it said, oh, what was it? Said, I'd rather take a razor blade over a chop from Gunther 10 times out of 10. That was the other thing too.
Yeah.
But I thought that was an interesting quote. And the reason that was interesting to me was because it, like, I get it. I get the aversion to it because of the fact that it's been out. It was literally out of wrestling on TV for 10 years. You did not see it from 2009 till 2019. And so it's a very different thing. But like, because I even had people when I responded to Raj's tweet about it, and I was like, you know, that as far as spotting the razor blades are concerned, that to me has never been a big deal. But I get it that we're in a different time right now where people are clipping things because I mentioned how I've seen it a dozen times. There were always times where I remember watching wrestling with my dad, and my dad would be like, "Oh, there's the razor blade," and then we'd see it, and then we just like move on. That was it. Like,
Yeah.
I brought up No Way Out 2003 as an example of Hogan taking a chair shot and then literally like rolling toward the camera and going like this. And but again, wasn't a big deal. We saw it, and then it's like, okay, it's the same thing when you see a wrestler like calling a spot where, okay, yeah, a little bit of the magic's broken, but to me, it's not that big of a deal. But of course, we're in this age where everybody wants to clip things and amplify them, and of course, when you see something up close on repeat, the way we see it in GIF form, it changes things. But I recognize that blood in general was something we went a very long time without in pro wrestling, and then all of a sudden we had it. That we had it back, and there's obviously 10 years. A lot of people started watching wrestling in those 10 years, and they're like, well, I never needed it, and all of a sudden I'm seeing wrestlers bleeding all the time. Doesn't make any sense. I don't need it. Whereas I'm thinking about how, like, controversial take here. Brought up Hunter before on this show. I don't think he would be a star without blood.
Yeah, no.
I think when you think about Hunter's career-making performances, the performances that put him on the map, a lot of them involved blood running down that man's face versus Mick Foley versus whoever it was.
The SummerSlam match with The Rock, did he do something?
The ladder match?
Yeah.
I think so. Wasn't he bleeding?
No, because I'm thinking about the show, and on the show, the Young Rock, Triple H is not bleeding, but I don't think they would do blood anyway.
I was about to say, I don't think Young Rock is gonna show blood.
Yeah, they wouldn't show blood. Anyways.
Yeah, well, I remember Hunter had powder in his eyes. I do remember that visual.
Yeah,
he had powder in his eyes. Maybe he wasn't bleeding. But either way, but I think about how, you know, obviously Street Fight with Cactus Jack, on the other hand, I mean, how do you do that match without without that look? The Hell in a Cell, his first Hell in a Cell, as he's a bloody mess. The match with with Benoit and Shawn, as he is. You know, I remember somebody tweeted a joke a couple years ago that like wasn't halfway untrue, where he said a hot take: Triple H is a deathmatch wrestler, and because of
Not even that hot of a take. Yeah, not even that hot of a take.
because
Not even that hot of a take. Yeah.
because of like what got Hunter over.
Yo, that's crazy.
I mean, his best match of all time, that Cactus Jack match, is a death match.
And like, you know, him against Batista, like he is a bloody mess as Batista put him down. Like Hunter's career performances all had him drenched in blood. And that's the thing is like, I think about how, because when I tweeted that, somebody responded to me and then deleted their tweet because they knew that there wasn't much to that. But somebody had responded to it and they said that, well, the blood back then occurred on pay-per-views. It wasn't on weekly televition. But I had a response typed out, and then I did the thing.
I seen Rock bleed on national TV, but
I know. I was about to hit respond, and all of a sudden it said tweet not found, and I went, yeah,
I'm sure,
because you knew, because like I was like, I can think of 4 instances off the top of my head of Austin bleeding on Raw. Like that's not true. I can think of
DX was formed because they hit Undertaker in the head with a chair and he bladed. That was on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, like
instances.
Rock bled, Vince bled a lot. That was like a Vince staple. Like, what are we talking about here? So, like, but I do get it because you have.
But if you don't know that, you don't know. Yeah,
if you started watching in after 09, or the majority of your watching is after 09, and it's WWE TV, you didn't see blood, and so that's. Although remember when they brought Ric Flair back for that little bit for the feud with Chris Jericho. And he did bleed in that feud, but like nobody else was bleeding, and so
it's Flair. He's made a whole career bleeding.
Yeah, but I guess just my whole point here is, it's been an institution in pro wrestling a long time. One thing I've talked to pro wrestlers about about when it comes to blood, is that it is a very, it's a visual thing, and it's designed to. Get a reaction of almost fear out of people, because the thing that because I see people saying, well, you get diminishing returns, you bleed too much, eventually people will become desensitized to it. We are human beings. The one thing we understand as human beings is that when we see blood, you cut yourself open, you see blood, you know there's distress. And so I disagree with that idea, because it's literally the thing that flows through us as humans. It's the one thing we truly understand, that blood equals harm.
Yes.
And so with that, I think that it is visual. Like I get what that one particular wrestler was saying, that as far as, you know, having my chest lit up or having a nick in my forehead, I'll take the nick in my forehead over, you know, not being able to breathe for a couple of days. And so I get that point there, that you're ultimately, wrestling is storytelling, and wrestling, you're trying to tell a story of a fight, and there's a number of ways to do that. The visual element of blood is one that definitely tells a story of, as I mentioned, distress for the person bleeding. Like there's other ways to get there. Bruising works the same way. And also big bumps work the same way. A lot of guys don't want to take either of those things.
Nope.
Yep. Yeah, look, man, I do think it depends on the frequency and how much you use blood, because I see what you're saying, why there's not diminishing returns, but when it's the same people bleeding constantly every week, I can see where some people would get tired of it. But I don't really understand the whole wrestling doesn't need blood thing.
But wouldn't you keep, like, let's think about this in real terms. Say a UFC fighter, a boxer, boxed every week, and he got busted open one week. The next week he'd probably get busted open again, and then the next week he'd probably get busted open again, and then the next week he'd probably get busted open again, because he doesn't have time to heal his wounds. So it's going to keep bleeding. Hence why Jon Moxley bleeds in every match. The thing that makes me the thing that upsets me about this whole thing is they're trying to dunk and 95% of the people that watch that TV show don't know about blading. They don't know to look for a blade. They don't know about this. You're just like making like, look at this. I can't believe AEW did this. But 95% of the people that watch that TV show, I watched the TV show and didn't even notice what they're talking about. And I know what the shit is. So it's like, we're just like,
yeah. I didn't notice till I saw the clip, and
I know how to do this shit.
That's what I was getting. I think that people that are in the wrestling bubble, you know what blading is. You can see like some of the spots where somebody handed something to somebody and you could pick it out because we're wrestling fans. And especially if you're a hardcore wrestling fan,
exactly, you
know these things. But your average wrestling fan does not pay attention to these things at all. And so this culture on Twitter where you clip things and you put the clips out like, look at this botch, or look, he just bladed. Like, your average viewer doesn't care about those things.
Your average viewer moves on so fast.
I'm gonna keep it 100. I don't care about it. Like, when you clip that stuff, I scroll right past it. I don't care to see that stuff. And so when, and I'll just say it, when Raj was like, this looks Bush League, and this is not to call Raj out. It's just to be honest about where I saw the take at. I don't think it's that it looks Bush League because you noticed it. I just think it's crazy that we're pointing out these things online and saying we noticed it to cheapen what is happening here and then going, well, this doesn't happen in any other thing. Yes, because blading is a pro wrestling convention. You're not going to see it in something like a movie or some of these other stuff. Like, if I'm watching a movie and I go, I can see The Wire. Yeah, okay. But like I said, that's a very movie-making thing. That is not, like I said, blading is a very pro wrestling thing. So to say, you'd never see this in any other industry. No, you wouldn't, because blading is only a thing that exists in pro wrestling. All the way to the point I made a joke on, I don't know if you guys watch Young Justice. Nightwing faked his death. And the way he faked his death was blading. He even acknowledged that it was blading because he was like, I know. I found this out from pro wrestling as a kid that grew up in carnivals, that you could take a little cut and bleed, and that's how he bled to fake his death. Like I said, that is a very pro wrestling convention. So to get upset about it and go, all right, well, I can see that he's blading. All right, but it's wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of things. Like, I feel like there's a lot of things in pro wrestling you can see that we're just like, okay. Like I said, calling spots is the most obvious thing you see.
This is what I'm saying. The people that are like, I can see when they're calling spots. So,
you like John Cena? That motherfucker was calling spots loud. He'd be like, slam, giant, all this stuff. Like, do we have to like? It's where's the line?
Us noticing these things doesn't cheapen what wrestling is.
No,
it's just it's wrestling. This was kind of my thing with the Bray stuff, and people are going, "Oh, well, this is unrealistic. I just can't get into it." Wrestling's not real. I'm sorry.
Take my hand and Irish whip me across the ring, and I'm gonna keep running.
I don't know, man.
If we're gonna do this, we got to start from the top. It's all silly.
It just, like I said, it just doesn't bother me. Like I said, these things happen in wrestling, and I feel like once you know what wrestling is and you accept it for what it is, seeing these things don't bother you. Like I said, I don't watch wrestling to look for botches. I don't watch wrestling to look for how the fucking magic trick is done. I don't need to know. I know that I know that it's not real. It just, I don't know.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like Nyla Rose had the point where she was like, people see this stuff because they're looking for it.
Yep. Exactly.
And that's that. Anime Otaku says, how many takes do you think that I ate his ass up line took?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Renee nearly cracked in the one they used. I mean, I was going to isolate that clip of just the I ate his ass.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was crazy.
Let's see. So we got the Everett says, I remember being 5 years old, seeing Vince bleed on TV, winning the WWF title. I would always remember it helped me not freak out when I had nosebleeds.
Yeah, I remember one of the first times when you see blood in something that you've never seen blood in before. Like, I was huge into Batman animated series at the time when it came out, and I remember seeing Mask of the Phantasm for the first time, and he's getting chased in that scene by the police, and he falls through that window, and he looks down and he can see the blood on his glove, and I was like, Batman is bleeding. like, Batman never bleeds.
And let's see. We got some others, I believe. And then I think this is time to wrap. Corey David says, "Did y'all see Seth's latest tweet?" I did.
I've been telling y'all, man. That's all I'm saying. I've been telling y'all that. So somebody tagged him to say that it's a shame that with the record-breaking run or whatever that Roman is on as champion, that people have just moved on to Sammy and Cody being the guys to beat him, and his match at Royal Rumble was kind of a fill-in. And Rollins retweeted it and said, "Yeah, it's a shame I messed up their world title plans." And I keep telling y'all, this guy wants to be in the title picture. He wants to headline WrestleMania.
Yeah.
He's made that very clear. I don't know.
Well, folks, that's it. I think I've read every humper chat, every super chat. Thank you for staying with us here on Grapsody, another Saturday. It's good stuff. I always have a blast with Philip Lindsay with Righteous Reg. Join us next week because it's a Saturday and we're going to be talking about it all because Elimination Chambers on Saturday. New Japan.
I'm going to New Japan live, baby. Very excited. San Jose.
How far is that for you?
It's like 45 minutes away.
Okay, it's not bad.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah.
Should be a good show.
The debut of Mercedes Moné to talk about next week. Looking forward to it.
Maybe I can get an interview.
Do your thing, Reg.
Get me an
Do it.
interview. Who do I have to talk to? How could I possibly do that?
Rocky, maybe?
Rocky, maybe? Send an email. Well, I don't have his phone number.
All right, fine. But anyway, folks, we will see you next time. Have a great day. For Philip Lindsay, for Righteous Reg, I'm Will Washington. Peace.